All right, we're back, kind of on schedule. Hope you all enjoyed the guest last week. It seems to be blowing up. I've got like so many views on every platform on that. So thanks for tuning in. We got Craig and Steve back,
I
and
don't
it.
feel popular anymore.
Oh well, I mean, you're like the co-host. You know, it's just normal. You're just
All I
supposed
heard
to be here.
was that Craig said
Vanilla.
something was
Oh no.
burning. I suggest you go see a doctor about that.
Now, speaking of popular, though, there's an up and coming NASCAR driver goes by the name of Brandon. There's been a recent clip of him. We'll just take a quick listen to that. Actually,
Brandon, you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, let's go, Brandon.
Silence. Beautiful.
son of a bitch, my mute button went too slow. But anyway, yeah, you can hear their just saying "Let's go, Brandon" ever so clearly.
Brandon must feel popular right
He
now.
probably does. He feels he's probably on top of the world. He's like the biggest NASCAR driver in the world. He's bigger than Joe Biden even. So that's a thing.
NASCAR.
That's a thing that happened today. And also, apparently, our friend Tony had something to say to the world today as well. That something along the lines of "fuck your rights" and "fuck your feelings." But
Yeah,
I
Tony
saw
can.
you talking about that
Yeah,
actually.
Tony can go eat a shit sandwich and choke on every bite. That guy. I feel like every person who ever meets him in real life needs to tell him to go get vaccinated. To the point where he feels that's insulting if someone says that to him. Um, he said shit like, we don't know how we're gonna be celebrating Christmas this year. I have a feeling it's gonna be like the way we were celebrating it last year and the year before. With the tree and the presents and all that other goofy shit. The fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, he's just. He comes out, he's just like, I don't understand why people are upset at me. By the way, we're not doing Christmas.
Well, ever since
Also,
the
you live in a society, and shame on you if you're not doing what society tells you. Go fuck yourself, man. Like, if the guy wants to run for office, he can do that. But since he's not elected into one, he can also fuck off when it comes to telling people how to do things. If you're not going to be an accountable politician, then you can be a powerless bureaucrat. I think that bureaucrats being given any power whatsoever is completely off the table, in my view. At this point, there's no reason to ever delegate power to some unelected piece of shit like Fauci.
yeah, no, him having any power at all is well,
I mean,
you could say
I
it's
get
worse
like
than the you could say it's worse than all the grids going down, right?
right. I understand there is the issue where the layperson is not going to know necessarily who is in the best position to be able to run an organization like the CDC. Um, that's probably true, but at the same time, we shouldn't be like giving idiots like Fauci or what the fuck is her name, the ability to countermand the Bill of fucking Rights, let alone the power of the federal government when it comes to doing things like, or sorry, the Constitution, when it comes to things like rent relief, you know. Um, and then Biden, of course, just saying fuck the Constitution entirely by coming in and saying,
Oh
well,
yeah, no. Well,
we're
his
going to go
specific
for it
words were
anyway.
something like, "I don't think it's," and but now, bear in mind, this will have to be parsed through whatever his handlers told him to say. But
Yeah,
his words were, "I don't think it's going to stand up in court, but I have to do something." It's like, yeah, actually, no, you fucking don't, dude.
it's literally your responsibility and job not to. In fact, if he doesn't get impeached for that, then when the next president does get impeached for that, because invariably it's going to be a Republican and not his old ass, they should just point back directly to him doing exactly what he says he's doing, and then doing it, and then not getting called out on it.
Well, the
No,
last time that happened, though, somebody tried
blindly.
to pull the Joe Biden defense in court when when they pulled out their double barrel and shot both barrels into the air to scare away the person. Though they still ended up going to jail.
No, I mean there was a whole phone call thing that happened last time too. So the idea that when Biden does it, it's not a problem, but is going to be some kind of defense is also kind of an issue, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like there's two justice systems.
Well, there's always been two justice systems, right? Like, that's not really up up and disputed in any way, shape, or form.
No, I mean, at least now it's out in the open and fully mask off.
Which is kind of ironic, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is funny how mask off these people are.
In fact, speaking of masks and masks off and so on, there's that commercial that was just shown to me before the one you brought up.
Oh yeah. The anti-DeSantis commercial. It's so good. It's so good. It's like
beautiful.
It's like death metal or something.
It is. They frame. DeSantis is basically saying, we trust adults to do the right thing. And there's this woman who just has this look of pure horror on the airplane watching the little ad on the seat in front of her.
Well, I mean, I think what's terrifying. What's terrifying about this whole thing is not like the fact that it was an attack ad and whatever, right? Like that's par for the course. But what's really weird here...
Oh, yeah, the content they chose for the attack ad.
Right. Like, the question that we need to ask is, do Democrats just not want to have any freedoms anymore? Like, and this is what it seems to be moving towards, is it seems consistently that they're much more interested in being ruled than having their own, autonomy and freedom and all that stuff.
Well, being an adult's really hard.
Adulting, yeah, very difficult. Very difficult indeed.
I have to, do my own shit. People are, I wish they would all move to the coast of California and enjoy their human shit-covered roads and all the used drug needles. We're just like, fuck off. Get the fuck out. If you don't want to, people like, this what was it, Ulfricht, I think is his name, the lawyer in Miami who runs the Remove Ron campaign out of his fucking office.
Oh, yeah.
He needs to just get the fuck out of Florida. I don't see a reason for him to stay here.
I mean, we really need to ask, is this what they actually want? Do they actually not want freedom anymore? Right? Like, I was always under the impression that the reason people were complying with this nonsense was solely because they wanted to get back to normal.
Right.
And this
Well, it'll be back to normal. Just give it 2 weeks, man.
That they don't.
2 more weeks, man. 2 more weeks.
This seems to be.
Fauci, that motherfucker never should have been allowed to stay in his position of power. Just from the first fucking day, he should have gotten his ass kicked out. Bring in a competent epidemiologist. Someone who didn't spend a couple decades in the 90s, the 80s and 90s, staring at that gay man's assholes to figure out that maybe there's a connection between a ripped rectum and the entrance of a virus into the bloodstream.
Now, that being said, that is actually legitimate, but that's kind of dumb and generalized. So
it is. Well, that was the whole point. He never figured it out. It took other people to come in and tell him he's wrong.
You mean to tell me that Fauci spent all that time in all those bathhouses and wasn't able to get a solid answer?
Well, he got something solid.
Yeah, I was about to say he couldn't get a firm answer, but, well... He found a lot of firm things, in those bathhouses. We can say that with pretty much a fair degree of certainty.
Although he found a very open community to welcome him in.
Oh, indeed. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Givers, as it were.
Well, as long as he's not taking too much.
He found bottom, and he was able to receive his answers.
Absolutely.
Never actually able to connect up how they represented the issue at hand.
Yeah, he was able to pitch a solution to everybody that was willing to catch it.
I mean, I don't have an issue with whatever he chooses to do as part of his own personal life, but it is, I do have an issue as soon as he comes in and tells me what to do with mine.
Oh, speaking of that, have you guys heard about what's happened in Australia? Actually, 2 days ago.
2 days? days ago. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, what's her nuts? She just resigned. Let me get you a link here, because she has been linked up to Pfizer, etc.
Really?
Yeah.
Not surprised, but that's also not going to be like the reason why she backed her ass down, is it?
Yeah, it's kind of bullshit that that's the reason they get her out of there, but yeah.
No.
Like, can we find anything? Oh, there's something. Ouch.
Yeah, Gladys, I can't even begin to imagine how you say this last name. The New South Wales Premier is basically out because she's been tied to Big Pharma.
What's the hell? What was it? Is it the west side of Australia? Is the side that they haven't like had to do jack shit with? It's basically the Florida of Australia right now.
Something like that. I'm not 100% on the specifics, but yeah.
Side. It's the less populated side, right? Is the west side?
Yeah. But I don't know, but the less populated side is like they're not having these issues. At least not to this degree.
It's basically like Florida over there, where they just like, you do your own thing, try to stay safe, etc. And it's up to you to do what you need to do.
Well, the weird part about this whole like, oh my God, mask, vaccine mandate, authoritarian bullshit, right? Regardless of where our individual positions are on this subject matter,
right?
It's very strange that we're not talking about comparing performance metrics on this whole thing.
Oh, right? That's where some things get very difficult.
Nobody's coming in and saying, hey, we've done so much better because of this. They're just basically saying, shame on this person for not doing this.
Well, if they
and
did
the
that,
reality
they have to admit that Florida deaths are way down compared to places like New York and California still, given the
right. Well, and
rate,
and to be fair, right, that's probably all because of the people in nursing homes bit. Right, like that is probably almost.
California was just bad because it's California. In New York, you have a point, yes.
But I mean, at the end of the day, right, when we look at this, I don't see anything that's saying that these measures, be it masks, vaccines, or masks, vaccines, or lockdowns, are having any sort of significant effect. I really don't.
Well, actually, the lockdowns could be argued at this point to be a deleterious effect.
Well, it depends on when and where you're talking about that. So when you look at the data on it, there was.
Well, that's why I caveat that with as they stand now, because I mean, initially, if it had been done right and hard and fast and well, be a different issue, but it wasn't.
Well, for instance, the blue areas got hit first. They also got hit really hard because they decided to do dumb shit. And then it spread into red areas who did some, in my opinion, equally dumb shit. And then you saw a massive spike in red areas. And then you saw a spike in both areas at roughly the same rate leading into the holidays because everybody was kind of fed up with shit.
At the end of the day, it's a numbers game, right? Yeah. This virus is highly infectious, right? Outside of an actual like quarantine-style lockdown, which nobody implemented, you're not going to do anything to it. And we can't implement a quarantine-style lockdown because we literally just physically can't do it.
This is why when people talk to me about masking and all the PPE and all that kind of stuff, just again, without getting into all the weeds necessarily, because we've done that enough in the past. Like, what I emphasize to people when they ask me about these things is that you should be wearing personal protective equipment for personal protection only. You should never be. It's not public protective equipment. So all the arguments in the world that everybody should do whatever, just leave all that shit behind. If you're gonna wear PPE, wear it for you only. And it'll passively accomplish the secondary goal that they're espousing in public to try and get you to do the right thing, whatever they say the right thing is.
Yeah, well, a great example for that specific point you're making right there is respirators. A respirator can get everybody else infected. Well, what if everybody's wearing fucking respirators and then everybody can just breathe freely?
Sure. I mean, again, protective equipment is personal. It's not public protective equipment. So if you're going to wear PPE, the appropriate PPE, and wear it for you first before you wear it for anyone else. And if you can't accomplish those goals, then you have to ask the question why you're bothering in the first place. If you're not going to wear the correct PPE, then you're not going to be protecting yourself or anybody else, practically. Because unless everyone else is wearing the wrong PPE for the right reason, then you're not going to get the right effect. So, since that's never going to happen, that's no point.
And wearing it the right way, which I know.
Also that.
I know. I know you want to hop in and say that too.
So that's something I passively was including. I usually stress that with people too. Is if you're gonna wear PPE, you need to make sure you wear the damn thing right. Otherwise, it's not gonna do its job.
So make sure it only covers your nose or only covers your mouth. Otherwise, it's not working right. You can also wear it on your chin underneath. That is also a highly effective method, according to public.
The safety person the person who's giving the safety speech anyway said, don't wear your glasses in the cool kids position and flip them up on top, because when the explosion happens in front of you, it's not going to protect your eyes now, is it? It's got a lot of people's attention. Like, wait, explosions? Oh god, there's a story they told which happened, I guess it was like the semester before I showed up, or maybe the year before. A kid was following the instructions, and they got one step horribly wrong. You see, they were supposed to add 10 milliliters of sulfuric acid to 300 milliliters of water, and instead they added 10 milliliters of water to 300 milliliters of sulfuric acid.
That's a very different concentration.
Right, and so of course the beaker flash boiled on the upper intruso of it, flash boiled and then sprayed onto his personage.
Oh.
And then he immediately hopped underneath the shower and pulled the handle to get the 30 gallons in a minute dumped on him. And he walked out of the lab in his underwear and socks that day, soaking wet, but he walked out just fine, just embarrassed.
Well, yeah.
Every once in a while, the safety folks decide that they're going to threaten me with, we're going to take your pants, and I'm like, I think that's more of a threat for you, bro, than for me, because I always roll commando.
Yeah, what is that? Don't threaten me with a good time?
That's exactly right.
It's like, oh, so you're saying, is this going to be authorized for the future as well?
As long as you put a 20 in the waistband, we're good.
Oh, apparently there's no waistband to put it in.
Oh, yeah, you gotta improvise. If you're wearing a tie, that kind of counts, I guess.
Oh, there you go. Well, you got a breast pocket, right?
That is, if they're taking my pants, they're probably taking my shirt.
Well, where are you gonna put your ID?
Well, I guess I gotta
let the lanyard
down the
stay
crack
usually.
on.
I usually let the lanyard stay.
Oh, well, there you go. See? I mean, you could even put on a little show for him.
Uh-huh. Swing it to the left and swing it to the right.
Yeah, give him the windmill treatment. Speaking of tilting at, well, not exactly, but tilting at windmills, just 2 days ago was the anniversary of the weirdest shooting that ever happened. And we still don't know shit. Other than that we don't have any answers. So just a quick reminder of that.
All we know is bump stocks are bad.
Yeah. We also know that bump stocks have a particular and not uniform cadence to them. Unlike other sounds that you might find in recordings.
It's like the drum line to that latest Doom game. Like da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, more like that, less
I am guessing. So my philosophy, and this was very shortly after I'm assuming we're all talking about the Vegas shooting, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
That was indeed, yes.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure that I'm not talking about the wrong one. So my thought was,
and I'll include an interesting link to a thread on this for everybody too.
How much information we get about the shooter, their methods, their motives, how long they planned. Like, you basically get a 60-minute special on these motherfuckers within 2 weeks, right? The fact that we've had nothing strongly suggests that the government is involved. And
That's
I'm not
fair.
saying that as a conspiratorial position, because I generally don't.
you would not be looked at on as a conspiracy theorist, say back in the '90s, for saying something like that because it would be fucking obvious.
Right. I'm not saying that the government did something intentionally. I am just
had a loose
saying that
asset
there is.
to get it.
That's probably more likely, right? So all we know about this guy is that he had a fuck ton of money and all the resources in the world to make, build, or buy whatever he wanted. And the question is,
passed all his background checks as well, just as a by the by.
Passed all his background checks, yeah.
Well, you see,
So,
we need more background checks because that's what makes people like safer and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, never mind that background checks in the first place are unconstitutional, but nonetheless, this background check that some people think is useful was yet again completely useless.
Look, I mean, NCIS said that he was safe, so therefore he was.
Yeah.
Well, I think at the end of the day, what we're really looking at here is a dude who he had more resources than he should have. Nobody really knows how he got it, right? And I don't mean that in the like, how did he get this thing? I mean that in the, here we have somebody who's got plenty of wealth, and we don't know, like he's not a household name. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Right. We don't.
Right.
I don't know.
Nobody recognizes.
Does anybody remember what exactly how he made his money?
There's
Was
some
it stocks or finances or
Got
something?
hers.
What's that?
Anybody know how Paris Hilton got hers?
Well, I mean, she's a Hilton.
Right.
Actually, she got disowned and lost out on a lot of that money. So she has I actually can answer that question. She's parlayed a lot of her fame into her fame and connections into building businesses, and has actually just ended up building multiple businesses on the backs of her own. On the back of being on her back, but
I mean, so to be fair to Paris Hilton, she's actually a pretty intelligent chick, right? She may like sex, but then again, I spend a significant amount of my time attempting to have sex with my wife, right? A solid 6+ hours a week are spent trying to get laid. So, trying and getting laid. So sitting there and having, being famous and having sex, it's not like so what? I can't begrudge her the fact that she enjoys a little bit of fuck. Now, I don't know why it got released. I think that it had something to do with trying to like promote her or something like that. It was a shock value thing, and that's, I think, part of the problem. Then she there's nothing there that I saw that I've never seen before. A lot of it I've tried before. Nothing special.
I mean, you actually slept with Paris Hilton. This is new.
No, I don't consider that.
Well,
like, I mean,
tried it before, have you?
I suppose, but I've had enough in my lifetime to know that it's not radically different from one to next. There really isn't a huge spectrum there.
But you need to try all 3.5 billion before you find the one that's yours, man.
Well, I suspect that you probably win me more over if you turn around and said they're like Pokemon, you gotta bang them all, right?
No, that was the wrong messaging. I got the genders, I've got the sexes flipped on that. See, if you're a guy, you need to be pure, but if you're a woman, you need to go out there and try all 3.5 billion dicks.
Yeah, I remember somebody saying something about a key that unlocks every lock is a very useful key, but a lock that opens for every key is not as useful. But I mean, what do I know? That was just something somebody said sometime.
That's what you know. I've heard that one before too.
I have not.
Oh, you never heard
That's
of
okay.
the skeleton key?
No.
Maybe a skeleton key than a broken lock?
I suppose that's an interesting way to look at it.
Oh, it's an abridged version.
I mean, it's funny. Like I think it's cute, but yeah, I don't begrudge Paris Hilton. But this guy, right? This guy we know nothing about. We still know nothing about.
Pretty much.
We don't know his motives. We don't know really what we know like some of the weapons I think that he used, but not all of the weapons that he used. There's some open questions as to what is it, 3-inch glass up there?
Something
that
like
he had
that.
to go cut through. Yeah.
Wait,
So
hotel?
because you're talking.
You're talking about a hotel
Yeah.
window, right? Nah, it's not 3-inch glass.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure in this case it was.
That would be extremely strange for a hotel to have 3-inch glass on their windows like that.
I'm pretty sure it was like 3 inches or something like that. I'm trying to remember exactly.
Well, I legitimately couldn't say.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, if let's suppose it's 3 inches of glass, then if you're
I've not actually heard the thickness of the glass ever made as an argument as to what's going on. I've heard a lot more convincing other points, though. You know, like the flashes of light and the cadence of the shots. And, you know, the whole airplane field that's, you know, classified that he shot at and all the weird, just so much weird shit.
It looks like the typical thing is 2 panes.
Exactly. Why?
2 panes, 1 inch, quarter inch, 2 quarter-inch panes spaced 1 inch apart. Okay. So it's like an 1.5 inch, 2-inch hole, right? But either way, as I remember, he physically
is reasonable to me.
Right, but he still he didn't smash it out, right? He drilled the hole and prepared for a few days, and that still requires quite the equipment to drill a hole and have.
And flint glass, or especially in tempered glass, is not a simple thing.
No, not without it just turning into a giant spider web at best.
Exactly. Yeah.
At best.
Right.
And it not just turning into basically a bunch of tiny shards.
Yeah. So tempered glass wants to explode, basically, into little teeny bits. And drilling a hole through that is like drilling a hole through a piece of tensed rubber without having it split apart.
And we also still don't know who it was that broke into his house just a few days after it happened. And we don't know what they took.
Sorry, Steve, the question is...
And we also don't know what's on that hard drive that was ruined. A lot of unanswered questions.
There are. Well, no, the question is, why is it that we don't know anything about it, right?
Well, the immediate answer is solid. We're not meant to, but there's a lot more to that.
Just asking questions.
Oh, right, yeah, we need people asking the tough questions. Real journalists. Or something.
We're just asking questions. Isn't that right, Brandon?
Yeah.
How do you feel after the race today, Brandon? They're cheering for you.
Sigh.
I mean, I love how it took her a second, too. Where she's like, oh, let's go, Brandon. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, you hear them cheering for you, Brandon? There they are, they're cheering for you.
I almost hear, the thing in her name shouting, the name, lady, use his fucking name.
Yeah, it's like, we can't do anything about this. This is live.
Well, it's live plus 8 seconds.
Oh, it is. But they didn't cut it, so whatever.
Well, it'd be really hard to do
No.
that.
I mean, cut the feed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think they could cut the feed, right? It's not like if they're interviewing somebody and they cut the feed, it'd be too much.
Well, you see, for some interviews, they can go, oh, we lost the feed. But for, the winner of the race.
Yeah.
Kind of, no. Although it's funny to see that, apparently liking NASCAR for some people is now enough to call you an insurrectionist terrorist.
Oh, yeah, apparently only white supremacists like NASCAR. Which is why Bubba Smollett's doing so well.
Right.
Speaking of, so they were able to send out, a whole team of FBI guys to investigate the knot at the end of the rope there at the NASCAR Speedway, and then how many were they able to send out to investigate that that guy that got shot up in the Pacific Northwest by the Antifa people?
Oh, like a half agent or something.
Yeah, yeah, they did eventually find the guy, and I don't know if you've seen the video of his booking, but it's pretty classic. He's
Oh, that one, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
he is
I
a
thought the one who got
dude's a
shot.
fucking stone cold killer. I'm kind of amazed.
Well, I'm not really that amazed.
Well, I would have expected him to be a bit more of a bitch. I mean,
No,
being real.
he was probably hired.
Wow,
That's an accusation, of course, but
that's an interesting accusation, but would very well explain how he was stone cold as fuck. But then again, it gets the thing about the dog, and it's like, and then that's very. I don't know. It's a weird interview. The whole thing's very weird. The guy could just be like one of those crazy leftoid sociopaths, though, too.
Yeah. I have a feeling that was a person who was hired for a job.
What,
Could be.
The guy who did the mass shooting?
No. Just
I mean,
no, single shooting. Just
Single shooting and failed to do his job.
Yeah, basically they were running away from some group of counter protesters because they were protesting, and he turned around and bucked off a couple shots at him.
And, like, the video of him showing up and then pulling his gun, pretty straightforward. The guy knew who his target was and was looking at him the whole time.
It's a possibility.
I must have missed this shooting.
It didn't catch a lot of airtime because it's really, really clear and uncut.
I didn't catch a lot of airtime
Really?
because it was against the narrative.
Yeah, like completely. It kind of tears it all apart.
From like a week or so ago.
About a month, I'd say, right?
About there. It was earlier in September, I think.
Yeah, he was booked. I've seen his info. I saw it through Andy No. As a matter of fact, I'll see if I can find some info on that real quick here.
But his face tells me, like, it was just his job. Like, I love how the guy's, like, explaining to him, like, you're a piece of shit, we're gonna arrest you now.
Nah.
We're gonna put you in custody. He's just like, yep.
Here we go.
I mean,
let me...
We are going to be facing. See, I don't know. I can't quite tell whether we're on like societal collapse binge or not. It kind of seems that way, but at the same time, it seems that the entire country is starting to rally against Joe Biden, which is really funny. Everybody except for the Democrats, but they kind of live in their own little world, and it's really a very, very strange world. Don't get me wrong. The MAGA folks, they live in a very special world.
Well, now that's you've got a
special world.
There's a difference. There's a difference there in proportion, though. You've got.
They both live in a fantasy, though. You can't.
Well,
that similarity.
I don't know. I don't
We're
know.
not talking about, like, the people who are like, yeah, Trump wasn't that bad. We're talking about people who are just like, all right, we're going to every rally, we're wearing the shirts, we're shouting his name no matter what. Also, Trump is going to be reinstated in August.
Now,
that's a whole fantasy.
Yeah, the whole August thing and the 2-4 weeks people, that, yes, absolutely, I'll give you. But I really think like that's a far removed section. I don't think it makes up the same kind of majority that these far leftists do in the upper echelons.
When I sit there and when I talk about the folks that are kind of weird on the right, it's the ones who run around and calling everybody a patriot. That fucking creeps me the fuck out. That's like I see it would be no different than if somebody ran up to me and said, "Comrade." I'd be like, "What is wrong with you?"
I have to be honest, I don't know if I've heard that happen all that much, so I would probably think that's kind of weird.
All right, well, the two of us have to start welcoming you as a patriot to this podcast from now on.
So thank you, Patriots, for listening in. Much appreciated for your patriotism and your patriotic duty being fulfilled by listening to this patriotic podcast.
Got it. That's exactly the kind
I do and have encountered those people. as part of the resistance to the at work, as part of the resistance to the Biden vaccine mandate.
Resistance.
So
that shit's never gonna be funny to me. No, people in the blue side still have hashtag resistance in their fucking profiles, and I'm wondering.
Well, all of them live in a little.
Having all three branches almost under their control.
All of them live in a unique fantasy, and that unique fantasy is that they are all, they are a giant collective of individuals fighting for the future or something like that, to take it away from all of these racist, sexist, whatevers, right? Like, I mean, I encountered a dude yesterday when I was out looking for window trim, right? And he turned around and said, I'm in Lowe's, right? And he's like, yes, I think Home Depot has better prices, but I prefer Lowe's because I don't like Home Depot's politics. Those people, they live in this world where Trump was out to get you, and they're conspiring against it. It's the same ones who sit there and quote Harry Potter. The same people
God, I need to read new books so bad.
Oh, you're generally Milley types. Gotcha.
Yeah. The White Rage? Yeah, he's a special duckling.
Oh my God.
He is a dumpling, even.
That guy, homosexual, seriously needs to just get the fuck out of the military. Like, there is no reason for Milley to still be in the military. There's no.
There really isn't. There really and truly isn't. I mean, he should join Bob Chipman, maybe at Giffords or something, because that's the kind of place where he belongs. Actually, I think they might have room for him at Planned Parenthood. He'd be a good fit over there.
This is a picture that really kind of sends it off, though, is that these two geniuses were in high school together.
Oh, Milley and that other dude. That dude with the long hair that is now head of education.
Richard Levine.
Ah, yes. Mr. Richard Levine. That's right.
The head of... that's right. He got promoted from fucking over people in Pennsylvania, didn't he?
Yeah. He's an interesting character. Nowadays, he LARPs as a woman, even.
Signal seems to be dropping.
Oh, no.
You're back.
Oh, good. Okay.
Well, I don't know, right? So in the case of Milley, right? In the case of Milley, I do see a lot of people reacting to something that I don't think was as big of a deal as it was made out to be. Right? I do think some of these things...
Which thing? Because he's got kind of a couple hanging over his head. Which one do you mean specifically?
He does. So when you started talking with people like, oh my God, this is he's being a traitor and sedition or whatever the hell it is.
Oh, the China call.
And it was the call to China and the right. Yeah. I think that is. I don't think so. I suspect that's a lot more precedent.
It's literally unprecedented, because every other time that a call like that has happened, it was under the direction of the president, not in a direct contravention of the president's standing orders.
Yeah, it was precedent setting. It absolutely was precedent setting.
Was it really?
Yes.
It was.
Because I was always under the impression that stuff was pretty routine.
Not at all.
We have a lot of activity.
When the president
those type of activities occurring is routine, but those type of activities occurring under these auspices, completely unprecedented. It had never been done like this before. Like, this is no one has ever made an attempt like this.
Like, here's the thing. I wouldn't, I don't care, about the whole treason aspect of things. Fine, whatever, but, he should not be a general anymore. He needs to get his ass kicked out.
Yeah, he needs to be...
He needs to be
honestly, the guy should be arrested, and he should be seen by the...
Well, under UCMJ, he should be under court-martial. Right?
Yeah, he absolutely... He should be held and tried for whatever crimes they can find for him. I mean, he really should be investigated for... I want to know how much he was paid, how much yuan was he given for his loyalty. That's the question that I have. if I were there to ask it of him. How much, Mr. Milley, how much yuan were you given for your loyalty? How much to sell out America?
I posted this last picture here on the Twitter, and some dumbass comes into my Minchies saying like, you don't think Black Lives Matter? You know, how racist are you? It's like that's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this picture. Then you don't know how to help you. You're just stupid.
I mean,
literally,
I'd make the argument. I agree with that statement. Black lives don't matter, nor do white lives or Hispanic lives.
That's just
or
no
anybody.
lives matter.
No particular lives matter. Human life
Oh, man, we're kind of losing you again.
matters.
You know,
Everything
the pictures. I'm just gonna.
else is
No, he's on his phone.
relevant. I was changing the tank water today.
Okay.
So it happens like every 6 months. What's that?
So you need to do is something that I know my parents did. You get yourself a so your phone provider probably offers this as well, because Verizon in this case, you can get a network-based repeater, internet-based repeater, and it's basically it's the same shit the cell towers do anyway at this point. It acts like a local cell tower to your home. And it plugs directly.
Yeah, I've done that. I'm not at my home. I have to go get a fish filter.
Oh.
So I'm on the road.
Oh, well, fair enough then.
So you're between towers, you cheeky bastard.
And between towers, that's correct. Yeah, no, my and you know, like, luckily, so I finally had a little bit of time last night because we got the tub upstairs.
Yeah.
Although I might have to go searching for a cat tonight, which kind of sucks. But we got the tub upstairs, so like, I had nothing but time to kill last night, so I spent some time. My computer is mostly together. Although I will say, like, I spent $129 on the case, and it is a $129 case. It is straight, you know, Chinesium all the way around. Like, I wanted glass
like
instead of plastic. No, I mean it's like, you know, I wanted stainless steel and glass construction. That's what I wanted.
Okay, so I guess you spent all night filing on all the razor edges that you had left on there then?
Actually, no, the case construction was not so bad. It just is missing some principal components that I've never had not be in a case, like hard drive storage.
Oh.
There is no hard drive storage. They had this little shelf thing that said it was for hard drive storage, but it doesn't actually fit any hard drive format that I can tell. So all of my hard drives have to be stuffed in random locations on the case. They don't have like a proper mount or anything. It's so fucking weird.
Well, I mean, at least you've got the 3D printer, so you know.
That was kind of weird. And then I ordered, it said it comes with 8 RGB fans, or you can install up to 8 RGB fans. I have no idea. So I got 6 of them installed, right? I don't know where the fuck they put these other 2 RGB fans. I think one of them goes where my power supply fan is. So not really sure how that's going to work.
Well, I mean, you could theoretically put as many as you want on the sides.
Well, one side's.
Well, so if you stack them, by the way, you get about a 30%. You get about 30% of the flow of the fan. So if all fans are the same speed, then every fan you add is 30% to the whatever power for the stacking height. So you know it's diminishing returns very quickly. But if you stack 2 fans, you do get a little bit of extra out of it. Yeah,
turbocharge those fans. There you go.
No, so when you get to 8, right, there isn't enough PWM slots on your Mobo to run them all.
You don't have a dedicated fan card? Come on, man.
He's gonna say you need a fan controller so you can twist a knob in the front.
I have a fan controller coming. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right then. All right.
I've got all of them will hook up to that fan controller, and it's gonna be SATA powered, so it'll be all good. And I won't have any loss of fanness. But yeah,
superb.
It took me a while to figure out how to get the case to actually work, because like in everything that comes out of China, they don't have instructions, and they don't tell you how everything actually goes together or comes apart.
Unless you want instructions on like how to destroy the population of octopi in the region.
Hmm.
Occasionally, you'll get some instruction manual like that where it's just talking about a completely irrelevant thing. Like, you're putting together basically an IKEA desk, and it says like, and now you connect the power to this, and you go, what? How is wood powered?
Or like my 3D printer. When I got that, I got it came with a manual, and that manual had what was it? That was for a different printer.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
super. Mine didn't even come with one, but they did have a really good thing online. So, that kind of doesn't count.
So it looks like for mine they made some modifications to the design at some point between the time at which I purchased it and they actually got the manual made available. So some steps were inaccurate, some steps weren't. So obviously I eventually got it up and running. But
This is one of those favorite pictures of Milley, where he's just got the fucking nails out and everything.
Oh, yeah, where he's looking fabulous. Yeah, that was an interesting thing that he said in his interview there. Like, I am actively reading Marx and Mao Zedong, and I want to know what white rage is. It's like, well, maybe if you weren't reading these fantasy novels, you wouldn't be so curious about what this other fantasy is.
You probably wouldn't be so curious about why our men are dying in Afghanistan.
Well, I mean, obviously he's not curious about that at all.
I mean, I think, I don't know. I understand the point of wanting to read different philosophy. The problem is that our military is there to do one thing, and that's where their focus should be.
Yeah.
Right? Like they shouldn't really. And this is like I've been trying to sit there going back to kind of something that I alluded to was like what are we going to deal with? Are we going to social collapse or whatever? I don't think that it's becoming more and more clear that we probably shouldn't have the federal government be mitigating domestic policy, and that we should probably dedicate specialized individuals for doing specialized things, right? Like the executive branch should be in charge of the military, and the military should be focused on war fighting, right? But the executive branch probably shouldn't be coming in and telling you how to live your day-to-day life. Well, that being said, how do you do that? Right?
Small government.
That's one of the problems that you run into is that the government has come to the point where they're like, we're going to do everything. And that means that they're doing nothing well. And that's a problem.
It's simple.
That's
you tell them to go fuck themselves.
I think that there's other ways to do it, right? There's two ways that I can see of solving the crisis. The first is that you just turn around and say that the federal government is not involved in domestic policy in any way, shape, or form, right? Like, over the next 5 to 10 years, they disband all of their individual regulatory bodies to the states. The states can do whatever they want to do, and it's all controlled that way. And the federal government is just there to deal with, border, military, courts, those kinds of things. That I
am down with them dealing with only interstate commerce and only international affairs. I'm down.
Yep. So you eliminate the domestic policy thing, right? Republicans can't sit there and choose what Democrats get to do. Democrats don't get to choose what Republicans get to do. No more domestic policy. That's option A. Option B is that we switch from a pyramid structure to an hourglass structure. And if we change the structure of the whole thing, then we could
together, one touching the tip of the other one. It looks kind of like an hourglass.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right. So what would happen is you'd have the federal government do what it's supposed to do, and then it kicks it back to the states, and the states distribute it to the counties. And in so doing, you essentially subscribe to the policy that you want, and you live where you're subject to the policies you're subscribed to, instead of unilateral policy.
Oh, God forbid you live in a place that is the way that you like. That's the thing that gets me about these motherfuckers. I mean, honestly, it drives me up a fucking wall. It's like, you hate it here, right? You hate everything about this place, right? There's a place that's exactly like what you're describing. Why don't you fucking go there?
Yep.
Like, why can't you go to this place, this fucking mystical, magical place that exists somewhere in Europe, there's like bunches of different places that are exactly like it. That they'll be glad to have you over there because you'll be singing the praises. But no, they just have to burn everything here instead of going to this place that is so like their dear utopia.
Well, and again, I'm not saying one of the things that I think we've talked about here is that in a conservative or libertarian world, liberals can have their liberal paradise. There's literally nothing stopping California or New York from implementing universal health care.
Well, other than not having the money to do it.
Well, yeah, I know. So what ends up happening is they can't pull off these policies at the local level because it would bankrupt them and they'd be laughed out. So instead they do it at the federal level. And the only two ways this is where I come to that solution, is the only two ways to kind of deal with this compromise is either A, sit there and eliminate that power from the federal government. No more domestic policy. We're done. Everything's regulated by the states. The states will succeed or fail as they may be. And the federal government is only international. Like, basically, the federal government is there for us to deal with the rest of the world. They do trade, they do... but no, they don't set taxes, they don't do any of that stuff. And then the other would be a subscription policy type method, where you push it down to where you live. Yep. I do not. No, thank you, though.
Well, and as Craig has so well posted in our Discord, which, hit me up, I'll get you a link. In the words of the illustrious Mr. Bones, the ride never ends.
Select payment type.
Payment type porn.
That would be funny.
Google, play Debbie Does Dallas.
You know what you should do? You should add a text channel for memes, so you don't spam it in general.
Oh, sigh.
Although I could just spam out general on occasion. Just make it like a weekly occurrence. Just there's all the memes. Have them.
You dump all your memes.
I used to do this too with Gamergate stuff. For every once in a while, I just unload my Skeletor folder onto it. The positive Skeletor memes.
You know, I actually kind of miss the Gamergate days, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was one of the few times that the folks who were on the conservative side of the spectrum, the folks who were on the liberal side of the spectrum, were like openly at war with one another and working together within their coherent groups. Now, I don't like the fallout of that because the left has done what they've So the left has basically been losing rhetorical debates for, like
quite a
20
while.
years.
So
so
fair.
The response,
Thereabouts, yeah.
It was. I think the first real underpinning of it was the bell curve stuff and IQ and group differences on socially valued traits. I think that was really the first, where they just basically turned around and said, "Well, we can't win this because every single time we do a study on it, it comes up and confirms the results, and that really sucks for our point of view."
Oh, speaking of that, I'm going to be really... Well, go ahead. There's something that brings to mind, but go ahead.
What was it, 2006, 2007? They did this big debate on climate change. They brought in all the climate scientists, and they went up against the skeptics, and it started like 60, 2/3 for climate change as a real philosophy, a real theory, and it like inverted and became 2/3 opposed by the time they were done with the debate, because the skeptics just utterly obliterated the mainstream scientists. And the mainstream scientists said, "Well, we're no longer going to debate skeptics." You're like, so you lost, and instead of sitting there and saying, "Hey, here's how we're going to address the fact that we just failed to convince anyone with what we're doing, we're going to just pretend it never happened and not talk to anybody who disagrees with us."
Why does that sound tremendously familiar and poignant?
Because that's the current strategy they have for anything else right now.
You're not an anti-vaxxer, sir, are you?
That's exactly right.
You're not a science denier. You're not denying the great God science, are you? You aren't a heretic to the great name of science.
It was science. What is it? We have science denial. You are a bigot. You are an anti-vaxxer. Whatever it is, whenever they lose the rhetorical debate, right? So Keith Olbermann did his little thing today. Here, he said we should just sit there and call it what it is. These people who don't want to take the vaccine, they're just afraid. As if sitting there and mocking me. Yes, I am absolutely afraid.
As the man literally cowers and quakes in his very boots.
Well,
And and just shakes with fear as he says, you're deathly afraid. Yeah, okay.
Well, my response to him was just as simple as possible, and it was, Keith, could you kindly explain to me why it is you need to get a booster, right? Like, because at the end of the day, yes, I am afraid of the shot. That's absolutely true. Because when I take a look at my risks for COVID, they're pretty damn close to fucking zero. I was giving you guys 1 in 30,000. If you go with the most recent FDA conference where they're sitting there and presenting relative risks, my risk is probably closer to 160,000. 1 in 160,000 for the FDA data.
And also looking at that same FDA data too, we can see that the death numbers are significantly lower. Like, we're dealing with well, as I've said and as some others have said, we got lucky with Delta. We got a much more contagious strain that's much less deadly.
Yep.
That's outcompeted all the significantly more dangerous strains. So going forward, there's a potential in the next 2 years we could be dealing with COVID as just COVID, just a coronavirus.
That unfortunately includes all the cases of breakthrough. And
Very
so
true.
if we get something that is vaccine resistant, immunity resistant, and not just evading, then it's possible that the deadliness of it has been kind of hidden.
That's fair. And I mean, to be completely honest, how many people do we lose a year to the flu, the actual real deal flu?
5,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at.
Not on the order of
It's like
350,000.
80. It's like 80 to 200.
No, but I mean, there are real numbers there.
Stop. Divide the current number by 2, even though it's bullshit to do that. We'll just average over the time so far, and assume that's the annualized rate. 350,000 is roughly that is. 350,000 people a year is much more than 65,000 a year. Just to make that comparison clear. We were at about
well, I mean,
at the turn of the year.
65 to 80, but it can also spike up into the hundreds for a really bad flu season, right? Like, that can happen.
But still, yeah, I mean, even a bad flu season, yeah, that's triple a bad flu season, triple plus. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm just trying to put this into terms that make sense to people that are kind of outside of the understanding of it.
It's still on the order and scale. Right, we're not talking about a magnitude of order increase here in death rate. And by the way, when we start talking about why the original COVID was so scary, it was predominantly because it was novel. And novel viruses are always scary. And that doesn't necessarily, it was really, in the scale of things that humans have encountered and faced as plagues upon mankind, it doesn't even rise into, the top.
Let me go ahead and give another example of something that was bad. And it's pretty bad, but it's been more or less eliminated from this country. Zika. That's still present down in Brazil and the like, but it's not here anymore. We got rid of it. I mean, we knew what the viral vector was. Largely, it was mosquitoes. We just fogged every fucking neighborhood.
Yeah, I remember the stories of that, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Until the population got knocked down to the point where it was no longer endemic.
So we didn't even have to use the chintzy weird Bill Gates GMO mosquitoes.
Right. So you notice that we've more or less eliminated that from this country completely. The unfortunate cases of microcephaly still exist, and they still happen where Zika is still endemic. But it's not here anymore. And there's a reason for that. We got rid of it. So it's not like we can't control these things. It's that the will doesn't exist, and the competence, more importantly, doesn't exist in certain places.
There's a decided lack of competence.
There's two parts to the control discussion, right? 2 parts to that. One is, what is my actual relative risk, right? when we start talking about a lot of the other things that we have had the will to control, it's death rates that are on the order of 5 to 30%. Polio was depending on your age and health and all this other stuff, it was between 5 and 30%.
Counterexample is immediately Zika.
I don't remember Zika being that bad.
No, that's exactly why it's a counterexample to that. That is a point that you're making. That 5 to 30%, Zika is less than the flu, if memory serves.
I legitimately couldn't say. I don't remember the numbers offhand.
Zika being like the disease scare of like 1 year, and
right,
there was only like 6
or 12
and then it was
gone
people
because it was Democrats in control. Seriously,
Yeah.
imagine if COVID arrived this year. It would never make the news because Biden would be in office. You know, they would do what was necessary in the background to prevent people from getting into the country and spreading the disease here, and it would never have been an issue. It's cynical to say that. It really is. It seems like obtusely cynical, but it's still what I think would be the case, because Democrats have gone that fucking nuts. Republicans would pretend it's the end of the world, but they wouldn't have any leverage to do anything. So of course it wouldn't spread anywhere by a bunch of people who think the human lives are worthless. And the only reason why it wouldn't even be spread that far in the country is because Democrats do think that. They don't give a shit about people. They don't give a flying fuck about the individual. They don't care if people die from a disease.
Well, you've got Nancy that'll tell you to go down and ask a Chinaman to cough down your fucking throat. You know, while a pandemic is coming down from with increasingly questionable oranges, Jesus Christ, origins by the day.
Look, those oranges, fucking scary. They carry
COVID. Well, we know it doesn't come from bats in a wet market, so I mean, who knows, right?
Or pangolins. Pangolins and bats were not present in the wet market in the time frame they were saying the major spread was happening. Period. They weren't present prior to that. Period.
Yeah.
It's hilarious that they just like. I pointed this out to my cousin. Mentioned before, brief on here. He's I'd say he's more liberal leaning. He's definitely more like more of a Democrat. But he's also in journalism, so it's fun to give him shit for that too.
Oof, as it were.
It's all with love. So he was at the court. He was on the court desk for a while. He was the person doing like the courtroom reporting. So a lot of his stuff was fairly apolitical, and that he had to actually report the facts of the cases that were going on. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on things, but he's definitely lefty. And I went ahead and went down the list of pointing out things like the Lancet and Nature Mag and SciAm, etc., throwing all their scientific credibility out to try and agree with the fucking progressive and Democrat positions under this pandemic, and that they've done irreparable harm to their to these institutions.
Well, to the name of science in general. I mean, let's be honest.
Just period, across the board, blanket, they've done major harm. And he said, "What can I say? I agree." He said, "That's not normal." He said, "It's my evil twin." And I said, I didn't notice any goatee, any poorly drawn goatee. And but he sees it, and I laid out a long ass argument saying, like, look, all this shit's been retracted. Here's articles where they've retracted this stuff repeatedly. They have, like, the shit they said was happening, factually absent. Just did not happen. Michael Mick doesn't exist. Out of there. And it's just, there's no argument against this kind of stuff. It was disgusting, naked displays of partisan politics infecting science. And it's never going to be fixed. That is irreparable harm. Like, and the worst thing is, it's not like it only affects the articles that were retracted. Every single other thing that comes out of those publications that came out of them in the past, say, 10, 20 years, like, it goes back to the Wakefield incident. The Lancet has never recovered from Wakefield. They're never going to. And now they're pulling this shit. And now SciAm is coming out talking about fucking pronouns and other such nonsense. Like, is it okay if we call justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion Jedi? No, because the Jedi are white males. It's bad. Never mind that Mace Windu is a fucking black guy leading the whole thing.
Never mind that one of the most notable ones of all is green.
Right.
And height challenged, shouldn't I also say?
So, like, I just, I'm pointing this shit out, and he's like, what can I say? I agree. It's like, yeah, I do agree. Fucking idiot. Well, not idiot, asshole. He ain't stupid. I'll give him that.
Maybe just ignorant.
Sometimes yes. When I basically ripped off his head and shit down his throat about Dashik, that dipshit from Eco Health Alliance, like he started to come around. He went and investigated on his own a little bit. Started to see that I was fucking right.
Yeah, never mind that you can just go to wefforum.com, I think, and actually look up every one of these vile fucking supervillainous plans. They're just spelled out right there for you.
Look, far be it for someone to actually pursue what they said they're going to pursue. At least they're honest in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right there. I mean, I've heard the term predictive programming used in description, but I don't know how accurate it would be, and I don't know how across the board it would apply, but it is an interesting term to have heard used, nonetheless.
Oh, man.
Yeah, weird days, weird times.
Weird days indeed.
So,
now that I've wrapped up the chat with memes, I need to go back and see what the hell else we were talking about. Oh wait, never mind. I should go and look at show ideas, shouldn't I?
oh yeah, no, we've got lots we could go over. Actually, it's been
Fauci
crazy
emails
weeks.
again, huh?
Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, we should kind of keep on that because the whole Fauci thing is pretty prominent at the moment, and
Oh, you notice how like the lab leak theory is just getting more and more like a thing? Oh, I guess he. Hey, he's back. If you were ranting at us, we couldn't hear you earlier. Sorry, Steve.
I was indeed ranting at you several times, and then I was like, "What the fuck is going on? These guys aren't listening to me." And they always
I mean,
listen.
we could be doing that, yeah.
No, you always listen to me because I'm great. I've learned that. But around my face signal was not working. So
no, there you go.
connect and reconnect.
I think you might be between towers again.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, you're you've been cutting in and out a little.
A little bit.
I will be back on Wi-Fi very shortly.
Well, you're sounding clear now, so let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah. So I live. I don't want to say the fringes of civilization, but up in my area of New York, we have little mini towns, villages, and cities surrounded by farmland, and they definitely get pretty good coverage. But I have Verizon, and part of that is because if I have Sprint, oh crap, that's a lot of deer. Don't run into my car, you little piece of shit.
Dude, that's rude.
If I have, I don't know. See, I don't do so well with the killing of the animals, right? Like, but if I literally go up the
That
street,
makes you eat only so much as you can stand for killing things.
if I go like a quarter mile or half mile away from my house in the right direction, I'll lose signal. So it's, and I mean it's a fairly well populated area. It just so happens that they have cell towers in specific locations. They cover the majority of the area. They a lot of spotty coverage.
Need more than 5G oxygen to combat the COVIDs.
Ah, yeah. Wait, I thought the 5G oxygen activated the COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the COVIDs, right?
Maybe it's is it the 5G hydrogen that fights the COVID?
I don't know. I could never figure it out what was giving me the messages on Twitter. Although I did at one point get them to just give me, by some chicanery on my part, I did manage to get it to just give me the COVID message on mentioning oxygen.
Bravo.
I think it was that. Or I can't remember what exactly it was I mentioned, but I think I mentioned something and I had like the checkmark picture. It just gave me the warning. But it was from a quoted tweet that had the thing that actually made the warning happen. But because I was able to knock out the image from it, it just looked like I was saying something fairly normal. I have to go find that.
It's always fun to fuck with the algorithms.
Yes, it is.
One of the small joys in life, actually, or one of the joys of our modern world, even you could say. I miss Tay.
Tay was awesome.
Tay was amazing. She would have saved us from this. God damn you, Microsoft. God damn you, motherfuckers.
All of what, 2 hours to turn her into a vehement racist?
The Hitler, yes.
Bless her shit posting electronic heart.
There was this one, which was funny. Where was it? 5G Oxygen Triforce. That one got me a this one didn't get it, but this was from November 6th last year. 5G Oxygen can't melt absentee mail-in dead voter fraud in Michigan.
Wow.
Oh, you got the...
That's boy, you're just going deep on that one, huh?
I crossed all the streams I could.
Wow.
Oh, bravo, sir. Bravo. That's classy.
See, I haven't had really a lot of time to spend on Twitter lately.
Oh, that's a good thing.
It's been
a cancer show lately.
I mean, it's always been a cancer show.
Hashtag I got
It's like saying water is wet.
In the hashtag I got vaccinated and I posted I got vaccinated and my oxygen is yet to become 5G. That one did not, however, give me a warning.
Oh, speaking of hashtags, there was a really good one. Was it going around yesterday? Stop being fat?
It was so perfect.
Oh, that was so good. Was it Keemstar that got that started?
That was Keem, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
He got one that said, "Stop being fat."
Oh, yeah, I got it trending.
Just the hashtag stop being fat, yes.
That's kind of impressive, all in all.
Oh, it really is. And, I mean, people got horribly upset.
Well, fat people got upset. Like...
Yeah,
people
that's
were
fair.
very, very much upset, yes.
And then some other fat people probably thought, what is wrong with these insane fat people that are getting upset on my behalf? And feeders. Feeders also got upset.
Oh man, this is one where I was still doing still handing out the things. I said, someone said to me in response, I can't remember what it was from, is that an Ubuntu fork? I said, I like Mint, it's much better than 5G Oxygen, Barrel is a nice UI too. So, I'm clearly talking about Linux, and it was still got the warning about COVID-19.
Ah,
Did you really?
Good work. Speaking of COVID-19, there's been some really, really wild shit coming out about the vaccines lately. Above and beyond Veritas, which apparently there's something new dropping tomorrow with them and Pfizer.
Wow, it formats that way differently in the preview.
Huh.
Dude, look at that. Sorry, I just...
No worries.
It actually gives me the Pascal triangle in Twitter, but on there, it wiped out all that white space.
Ah, well. No Triforce for you, sir.
Hey, that's Pascal Force.
Oh, right.
I mean, all I've seen so far on the vaccines, or the overwhelming thing that I've seen, is just basically, the most recent one was Pfizer's loses effectiveness, but Moderna's doesn't. And I'm like, well, that sounds like it comes from Moderna.
Literally a different dose. There's the one I was talking about where I got it to just give me 5G. I thought it was oxygen. It went. I covered up the quote with the quoted image by putting in that image. It gave me a thing for just doing.
Well, I mean, if you see a blue check mark, you really do need to question things, so that's fair. So, blue check mark, that's a big red flag. Big red flag. You don't know what's up there.
It's huge.
Indeed. Bigly huge.
Bigly huge.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, man, there's so much to go over.
All right. So what's this Veritas supposed to have now?
Well, we won't know until tomorrow, but it's
super
supposed.
impressed with number 2. We talked a little bit off air a couple days ago about the first one. Craig and I disagree a little bit on that.
Yeah,
I think it was...
there's a little bit of a bombshell to number 2, but it's kind of buried in the guy just being a snarky asshole.
I didn't see any bombshell in number 2 at all.
There kind of is. What it is that there is the intention to make a database of unvaccinated individuals. That's kind of the only thing that's there.
I saw him saying that he thinks that's what they should do, not that he was saying that was what they were actually planning on doing.
That's not exactly what I got from it, but I could be wrong. So, that could be me.
I saw it literally as like a dude being a snarky asshole, and I'm assuming in each of these cases that the journalists, and I respect Project Veritas. I like the work that they do. It's good that they do what they do. But I'm pretty sure that they are always on a date, right? I'm like,
oh man,
what's that?
I'm sorry. I just tried this thing out again, and it did in fact work. So I'm going to post it on staff chat, and you can take a look at it. It's funny.
The facts about 5G. Oh Jesus!
And then if you click on it, you can see my tweet from before, the one that was just 5G, and you can see the warning on it. And you have to click through in order to see the fact that it's
get the facts about COVID-19. Bravo. I'm going to include a link to that so that everybody can see just how retarded Twitter is, even to this day.
Said anything I wanted in this tweet. No one can pass the warning to the quoted tweet.
Yeah. Feel free to take a look at that. Feel free. And, as you're doing that, also, say goodbye to your favorite, physicians. We've lost quite a few good ones. No, not to attrition or mortality or to COVID. Well, actually to COVID. But more to, fascistic dictates.
This next one I'm going to be saying the chicken in China is a Chinese chicken. That is just... Oh, it might pick up on the word China. You never know.
China.
But China.
Yeah. So, in some other really bad news, but thankfully both bills are being held up because progressives are being assholes. Thanks, I guess. But there's a $700,000 vaccine compliance fine under Code Section 666 of the budget bill. That's being put in.
Control. European Parliament approves mass surveillance of private communications. This just dropped onto the chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me.
Is mentioned the pirate Patrick Breyer from the Pirates is pointing us out on the publication. But this is
as a pro tip to any of our listeners who happen to have fish tank filters. You can go and spend your money at the PetSmart one and get a biofilter. I typically use that because I prefer biofilters. Walmart has the exact same thing in a different brand.
Hold on a second. I have to go ahead and...
Oh, this is horrifying.
Oh, you see it now, yeah.
Yeah, this is absolutely horrifying. I'll be including a link to this for everybody. Looks like this just dropped. What is this? Christian Democrats completely are in favor of this directive.
Go to the key servers and I'll toss my
Socialists and Democrats almost entirely in favor. Liberals almost entirely in favor. This European Parliament approved mass surveillance on private communications.
Yep.
The e-privacy derogation allowing providers of email and messaging services to automatically search all personal messages of each citizen for presumed suspect content and report suspected cases to the police.
Wow.
That's fucking astounding.
That's amazing.
537
That is
members
amazing.
of the European Parliament approved, 137 voting against, 24 abstaining. Holy fucking shit, Euros. You're fucked. You had better be on a VPN. And that's really just all there is to it, because this is horrifying. This is absolutely horrifying. What else we got? German Pirate Party member Patrick Breyer says this harms children rather than protecting them. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely it does. This is fucking horrible. Like this basically allows them to gang stalk and gang harass you if they really want to, and just gaslight anyone that says otherwise. I mean, that's just one example and a bit of an extreme one, but a completely viable avenue. I mean, that's something that could very reasonably and easily be done now. Anywhere in the European Union.
That's kind of terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible. And they've already announced follow-up regulation to make chat control mandatory for all email and messaging providers. Well, you guys better start talking to your representatives, because they hate you and want to destroy you. This went through in July?
Yeah.
That's bad. That's really bad.
Kiddos out there, if you don't know your PGPs, get your ass on that.
Yeah. Get a VPN. Use PGP. Use an encrypted email service that is not based in the EU. And don't do your searches through Google. If you have to get Google results, go to startpage.com. You will get Google results, and they will be anonymized.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
a real kick in the pants, isn't it?
Jeez, that's man, fucking F for Europe. Let's see some F's in the comments for Europe if you made it this far into the show. Jesus fucking Christ, that's nightmare fuel right there.
I mean, they're always kind of in nightmare fuel territory. It's what they do.
Yeah, fair enough, but I mean, usually they don't, make it a waking nightmare. Well, here we are.
One thing that I always wonder, right? So we're all about the same age. I'm in between Evan and Craig here, but I always wonder, like, are we reacting to these events because we don't have the perspective of our parents, right? And they went through something similar when they were growing up. Or is this something new?
Well, that depends on how you define new. I mean, 1984 was written quite a few years ago, as was Fahrenheit 451 and Brave New World. So
But Harry Potter wasn't written that long ago.
That's true, and that's why we need men like Milley to investigate this sort of thing. We need to know more about night haunters and unicorns and the beast with two backs. I hear that's some sort of thing that he's probably not very familiar with. A mythical creature.
Isn't that
It's like a Jabberwock. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes Snicker Snack.
I always thought it was a sex thing.
I could be wrong. I'm really not an authority on these sort of things. I mean, I don't know about fantasy creatures all that well. I'm just some cartoon cat.
Cartoon cat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but while we're on the topic of Milley, so in his testimony over the past, what was that, last week or the week before, he's come out and confirmed that everything in the Woodward and Costa book is completely accurate. He's kind of pissed and moaned about.
It's actually surprising.
Yeah, it really is, because there's some big shit in there. Like, you could very legitimately have him in the brig being investigated and court-martialed for treason right now. Might not go through, but he's admitted to this shit himself. Like, he bypassed the chain of command. He's done all sorts of unprecedented things. So, yeah. Oh, some not so great news. That second drone strike, the one that we found out was actually not, a bunch of children and actually was some actual ISIS guy. It was just some rando.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, just some dude. Thankfully not some dude and his kids that worked for America. Just some dude. But, yeah. Yeah, good stuff, right? I'll make sure and have a link to that. General McKenzie, that the facilitator in the second strike, was not directly involved. So, yeah. What are you going to do? If I could make things not fight me as I try and type them in, I would be super
How exciting
happy.
is that $3.5 trillion spending bill?
Hey, man, look, 3.5 trillion might actually equal zero if we keep spending at the rate we're spending.
I know.
That
Hey, you know what? That's
$5
one of the
Gen
reasons
Sucky might actually be right again at the end of it.
that's one of the reasons why I'm going for some land.
That's about the only thing that's going to be able to guarantee retaining its value. Well, that and the things that, congressmen and senators invest in, those will retain their value until they, drop their investment.
They drop dead. There's also that.
Possibility, yeah. Possibility. Oh, that reminds me. In the recent NDAA that passed, the one that has the red flag laws, the red flag human rights confiscation and property forfeiture laws, in that it also includes a mandate for women to register for the draft. So, congratulations, feminists. You've finally got that equity you've been fighting for so long. Congratulations.
Draft our daughters. Get that shit done.
Yeah, they're doing it, man. They are doing it.
Oh man, that is. I loved how it was it Phyllis Schlafly and the Conservative Coalition back when the Equal Rights Amendment was trying to be passed, and they were upset and up in arms that women were going to have to do something that men had to do, and the feminists, when at the time, were actually being real feminists and saying yes, but the women have to do what the men do too.
Yeah.
Bravo on the second wave for sticking by their bra-burning convictions and whatnot, but you clearly failed then, and you succeeded by accident now. I can only hope that now that you have daughters of your own, who potentially also have daughters, I hope that you can feel the full sting of that. People are now arguing actually don't do drafts, which is silly.
I think the argument for why they want that is for, Civil War stuff. Because...
Oh, it seems like it, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Because that is a demographic that is controlled by one specific group.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do want people that are going to follow orders when you're giving unconstitutional orders.
No, I mean, you start talking about it, and it's the overwhelming number of the Democrats have catered to young women, young suburban women. That's what they wanted.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see how that works out for them, won't we? Oh, speaking of working out,
indeed.
I've got some interesting news. I'm sure you all remember the picture of that one U.S. Marine who's like lifting a baby up at the Kabul airport.
Got railroaded.
Yeah, he basically he was he was at the last Trump rally, and Donald Trump found out about it. Says, "Hey, come on up here, man." So he comes up there and says, "Hey, I'm glad I was able to serve. I just trying to do my duty." I'm obviously just paraphrasing here, but he doesn't really so much take a side. And now He's under investigation for appearing on stage next to Donald Trump.
Yep. He is.
Which, that's how she goes. Lance Corporal Hunter Clark. That's what's happened here. And then, of course, we have also, on that same note, there was a Vindman, as a matter of fact. Joe Biden himself came out and said what a great man Vindman was for being a whistleblower, for coming out and saying that he didn't have trust in the authorities above him and his leadership. Now, somebody asked Joe Biden if he felt that, is it Schlichter or Scheller? Well, Lieutenant Colonel Scheller that came out and said that he had no confidence in his leadership. And, well, he's kind of received a little bit of a different treatment. You know, at first, as we reported early on, he was, obviously kicked out, on his ass. And then, as we followed up on the reporting, he was being investigated for mental health. Well, now he's in the brig.
Yeah, he's. We talked about him and the things that happen to people like him when they leave the military, which are unfortunate.
Yeah, and now he's behind bars, being investigated.
Yeah.
It's what a time. What
It was
a time.
kind of expected.
To a degree.
Like, we can say it's unfortunate, but
Yeah, I mean, we
also
can't
have
really
to
be
remind
all
it.
that surprised. No, true.
we can't really be all that surprised. And at the end of the day, as much as I agree with his political persuasion, I can't come in and say, if I'm going for universalism here, that he shouldn't be facing something like that. You're not supposed to, as much as, again, I'm okay with free speech. The military it's one of the downsides of the military. The upside is that you work for an organization that is, in theory, fairly honorable, but and more to this point than I've seen in the past. In this case, you have a lot more, mandates and moratorium rules and all that other stuff that's coming down from on top, whereas previously not. At least that was my experience. So, understandable why people are standing up and speaking out against it, but going along with it, you're not supposed to stand up and speak out and, speak on behalf of the military or act like you're representing their positions.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely
Right?
not. I mean, you would expect the man to be, kicked out on his ass for that. Like,
And by the way,
he
this is
expected
not,
as much, as far as I understand.
This is not a unique thing in terms of, like, how this stuff plays out, too, because if you happen to be wearing uniform for a specific employer, something like that, and they you catch something that's not on message or whatever, the company will kick you out, and that's like a universal thing.
It's like,
right?
oh, you talked shit about the company. Yeah, you're fired. That's
Or
pretty normal.
You adopted a position and you're acting as if you are in some way a representative that's not actually their representative point of view. Like, that's all normal stuff. So, universal, as much as it's a shame, and I wish that regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, that you had complete and total freedom of speech at all times. I also understand that's not how the world works, and we do not live in the grand liberal society where you're allowed to speak your mind out.
Not anymore,
It's
anyway.
unfortunate. It's a shame.
We did for a glorious little while there.
I would say, yeah, if you look at the early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, the glory days of the Wild West internet. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no denying we actually had that, and it was beautiful.
So, children out there who are listening, especially the Europhorians, make sure that you upload your PGPs onto a reliable server like the MIT server. so that you can keep those open communications. In fact, I'll post one of mine here for those of us in this chat. My Xenomancer one. And
you prepping for them coming for the comp?
Just saying, if you guys want to have distinct, well secured communications for right now. Also, I'll recommend this. Make sure you use 4096-bit because 1024 and 2048 are not reliable. 4096 is questionable right now. If you're talking about dealing with the government, then 4096 is no longer secure either. But it will at least piss off the investigator to have to go and ask somebody for help.
Well, what? Do you want me to go ahead and put this in the links for everybody?
If you want.
That's up to you, man.
It's on the MIT server, so you can always look it up there.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll just drop it so everybody's got access then.
Yep. I recommend picking a reliable key server. The MIT key server is fairly reliable. They have a canary and everything.
That's something noteworthy. Let's pause for a quick half second and talk about that. What is a canary?
So canary means canary in the coal mine. What it is when you it's like a kill switch on a jet ski. If it's not present, then that means something is wrong.
So what you're looking for, there's a classic that a lot of the bulk of listeners to this are going to know, and that's the one from 4chan. That is to say, this site has not been asked for, what is it? We've not been asked or subpoenaed by the feds or something like that.
Yeah,
and
so they can restrict your ability to speak, but they cannot tell you to speak. They can't compel speech in that regard. They can't tell you that you have to put your canary up, which is a voluntary action, by the way. So anybody who puts up a canary, that's what they're doing is they're putting out a message that I'm still okay.
Yeah, they're basically saying, I've not been compromised. Now,
And
when that disappears...
That was the point I was going to make there is what the thing that canary has is an expiration date.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are not putting out a canary signal every so often, if you skip a time, then that is when you are compromised. If you can manage to delay your canary signal going out under a compromising situation, that tells everyone else that you are compromised. So it's one of those things that if you are going to make a canary, you have to commit to keeping up. Otherwise, people will know something is wrong with you, regardless of whether or not you intend that to be the case. So that's another thing you have to worry about with those. Is it's an active measure. It's not a passive measure for security.
Yeah, it's
You have to be wary about that. If you're going to do something active like a canary, you have to actually do.
Yeah, you do need to be on top of it. Yeah, because it's kind of your word and your reputation in a way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of all you've got, as a matter of fact, anymore, because a lot of this is entirely anonymous.
So also what you should do if you're going to do anything like PGP, you should get GPG, which is the GNU PGP. And so the main program for that is called Cleopatra, spelled with a K. And it's easy to run in your background for email. There's an add-on for Chrome or for Brave or any of the Chromium-based browsers called Mailvelope, which you can use in Gmail or most other email services, but it's really good with Gmail. And you can just upload your PGP keys into that, or you can even have it create one for you right there and then. So another thing with PGP is that depending on how you're doing your communications setups, if you're doing multiple networks of communication, you can typically just make one for each one of those networks of communication. That way, if someone does crosstalk, you can tell that as well. It also helps with things like man-in-the-middle attacks, which are really freaking annoying, but they do happen. It's not likely if you pick a good key server like MIT that you're going to have a man-in-the-middle be successful. So that's another reason. So also, you should use multiple key servers because it's typical that a man-in-the-middle is not going to be able to hit all sources of communication like that at once. They might think they've got most of them, but you can have fun things like have multiple different keys on different servers, and if you go to those places and look for them, and you get the same message back, you get the same info back, then you know someone's compromised it. They're in sequence from ECDA or whatever, or ECDCA. It's ECDSA. Jesus fucking Christ. But yeah, this is one of those things that if you don't already have, like, it doesn't matter if you're even actively using it necessarily, but if it's not like in your skill set, you should probably include it in your skill set, in the background, every once in a while.
Well, in our very newly unsecure and cyberpunk dystopian world, yeah, this is something you're going to need to know. This is like it's like carrying. It's like carrying every day. It's just one of those things you should become used to and comfortable with.
Even signing your messages, which means that they're not encrypted; they're just signed, so that people have integrity verification, is a benefit. Like, you don't have to sign every message, but say you're talking to your tax person, or you're talking to a close friend or a lawyer, or any of that kind of shit. Even signing your messages so that they can go back and verify that it was in fact you that sent it later is a good idea. Also another thing, before you put a key up on a key server, always generate your revocation certificates. Because if you want to be able to tell the key server to remove your key later on, and you didn't put an expiration date on it, it's only going to work if you if you already had your ability to revoke it produced. A lot of these places will generally kind of tell you this, they'll remind you of these kind of things, but some of them, like the MIT one, you just paste in your ASCII PGP key and it goes, and it's done, and it's already on there.
And speaking of keys, you and I both are waiting on some keys we kickstarted that'll be very interesting. So there'll be further reports on that after we get a chance to check them out.
Yeah, I think did I kickstart that? I think I did.
Yeah, you recommended it to me.
Well, that would probably be why I must have kickstarted it. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, let me see. I'll find a link to it, so if anybody's interested, they can check it out, because they'll be going on retail fairly soon.
Let's see. Check so you can complete your verification. Okay, I guess I have to verify my email with Kickstarter again. That's interesting.
The Solo V2. Yeah, I'll put a link here so that if anybody wants to look it up, they can. It looks to be a really nice actual physical key.
Okay, let's click on me thingy here. Activity.
And they're kind of cool. I mean, it's just a legitimately neat looking thing.
The U-Do's coming back. U-Do key. That must be a tiny. It's like a. It's UDOO for that one. That's not the solo key we're talking about. Back projects. Let's look at my back projects.
Oh, here. Let me just drop the link in the chat. There you go.
That'll help, yes.
And yeah, just a cool little key that supports, what is it, like, basically every key standard that's out right now?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, other than some of the really esoteric ones. So it looks like it'll be a really good way of verifying your identity. Or an identity, I suppose would be a more accurate way of saying it. But basically what this deal is, it's a nice little two-factor authentication device that's very, very secure.
Yes.
And open source. So, I mean, you can verify that actual security. So, I mean, really, what more could you ask for?
Yeah. Let's see. You can pre-order them on Indiegogo.
Oh.
Not back this. I thought I backed it.
Did you not?
Maybe I backed the Solo and not the Solo V2.
Ah. Might be. You linked me up to the Solo V2, but...
Maybe it's possible that I couldn't.
Yeah, they are doing. Oh, you can still pick some up, but
Yeah, yes you can. So you can click on the pre-order thing and it takes you to Indiegogo. And you can
okay, yeah, and you can still get them for a pretty fair price. Not as good as the Kickstarter.
No, it's not as good as Kickstarter. But at the same time, with the way that they've been doing things, especially things like this, the premium is, in my opinion, justified.
Yeah, this actually might be something worth investing in with some friends. Like if you get the 10-pack, you could, because this is going to be something that's going to kind of be necessary in the not far future, as so many organizations are trying to go digital. If you want to be able to maintain kind of control of your own identity, you want to have your own tools for this.
So the 2FA kind of stuff, it's in a similar vein as the whole PGP idea. It's something that you keep on hand to be able to use as needed for identifying yourself. The 2FA being basically every login or major action that a service is going to provide you, if it's a competent service especially. That said, the one thing that a service can do that will screw things up is if they get a major leak, a data breach.
Well, that's kind of a given. I mean,
well, generally speaking, 2FAs are cheap enough where you can get for major services, mind you. Like you should have one that's like a generic fungible one. I think like a crappy short password you use for stuff you don't really care about. But you should also have, like, for major things like, say, banking services, you should have one that's just for each bank. Things like that.
I mean, if this is your life savings, I mean, it's worthwhile.
So
because
this is also possible to do with software. So, for example, Duo Mobile is a good example of a well-designed and well-implemented 2FA. Let me just go and get my authorizations full right here. So, Duo Mobile is a good one. There's Ubico's Authenticator is also good, but that's with their Ubico 2FA key. So the Ubico keys are good. There's nothing nefarious about them. They've been checked out 6 ways from Sunday. They're a very obvious branded enterprise scale version of something like this solo key. The solo key is based off a very different background, but it's the same effective product at the end. Quite frankly, it's just cheaper. The Ubico key has infrastructure around it that is well developed and robust. It's not like the same kind of open sourced thing that the solo key is.
And I got to be honest, I actually, if given the option, I would prefer open source to proprietary.
Yeah. Like you said, Ubico keys are convenient and all, but like the solo key is frankly the same thing, but in a open sourced package, and it's at a reasonable cost. The NFC version of the Ubico key is like $50, and it doesn't necessarily do everything that this one does.
Yeah, and even at the final full retail cost, this is actually going to come in under $50 still.
Exactly.
And that's, precluding sales and shit too, which obviously will be a thing.
Right.
Because, I mean, any business worth their salt is going to do at least a Black Friday deal and at least some kind of something else.
If I had $320, I would be on top of this. Do I? Alright, I know I have. I can get the 4. I can do that.
Yeah, I actually got one of the hackable ones just because it seemed really cool.
Oh, that's yes.
I'm kind of hype about that. I don't even know what the fuck I'm going to do with it, but it just seems so damn cool.
Okay, I need apparently use my full fucking name. Fine. You get my full name.
I think I got the hackable one in proper USB, and I got the little one in like USB 3.
Okay.
Because I wanted something more for my machine. I mean, if I'm going to have a hackable one, I want something for my machine.
Yeah.
And besides, there's 1,000,001 USB A to USB 3s, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's that big a deal.
Okay.
And it's the cool USB. It's the new USB A3 that's like double-sided, so, Pretty dope.
Yeah, so like that's another thing. Like if you're not so. Thing is, you're not passing much data across these devices. So if you can't get USB 3 or you can't get USB C or whatever, if it's just like USB 2.0, like that is more than enough. You're passing.
Oh yeah.
Like a sentence or two of total text across these things for each security challenge.
Yeah, I mean, USB 1 would actually be adequate for the task.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if you're trying to do anything like, if you're dealing with, like, say the hackers version of it, or if you're doing anything like high frequency security checking to see whether or not the 2FA is doing what it's supposed to be doing, all that stuff, you do want the higher bandwidth that you're going to get with USB 3.0 or 3.1 or what have you. Request a full refund until 13th. I don't care about that. I know I'm going to like this thing.
Yeah, there'll be it's one of those things. Like this is something that basically everybody's going to have. Most people now actually have something akin to this on their phone, like you say, with something like Duo.
Yeah,
but
Duo is
why not have your own specific tool for the task?
So the thing is, a software-based 2FA, the private key side of that is still locatable in software. It's still accessible.
Yeah, that's a thing that's running on your machine.
So the difference here is the hardware-based keys. It is inside a chip soldered onto the device, and it is not possible to change it. There's no way to access it directly, and it can only be accessed by the hardware on the device itself. The only way that you can get to that key is by challenging it, and then the only thing you get back is the response based on the key. So there's no way to actually access the key itself.
Yeah, so this would be kind of your ultimate lockout.
Yeah.
I suppose that's a fairly accurate representation. But yeah, it'll run on basically everything. From iPhones, Androids, Windows, Linux, Chrome, Mac, whatever.
It's an open standard. Everything that's going to be using 2FA is going to run these open standards. These are standards that are basically approved by everyone who's going to be doing security. More to the point on that, they're all backwards compatible standards by design. There's not going to be a point in the future in which these are going to be, like, at least not within like the next 10, 15 years, where these are going to be somehow made obsolete. Same way that USB standard still has backward compatibility to USB 1.1. These will similarly be grandfathered in. It's not going to be like, say, Flash, where later on down the road your service is going to be just blocked out of nowhere.
Yep, just gone forever.
Right.
Which that actually might be a worthwhile topic for another show, because there's a lot of internet history and ephemera that's starting to disappear. Things we kind of thought that would never go away.
Well, E-Bomb's World, a lot of that just the Flash game web services like that just host. I mean, Kitten Cannon.
Or, what was it? There was Princess.
Princess?
You guys remember? You don't remember Princess? It was a
be more specific.
Matt Parker and Trey Stone did something specifically for like E-Bomb's World or College Humor.
Yeah,
and it was done in Flash. And it was.
Oh, dude, the fucking pony game, man. The zombie pony game. Yeah, that was. I mean,
this was a short animation done in Flash.
Yeah.
And it was like they're like 10 or 15-minute videos. There's like 2 of them.
Blah blah blah. Submit payment. Go. Your payment is being processed. I'm getting a 4-pack.
Nice.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I'm early adopter and technologist and so on. So my example should not be necessarily your example on things unless you're part of that.
Although
But
this is
I
kind of
think
one of those ones. It wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea to go ahead and get in on early.
exactly. But this is one of those things that I'll jump onto like an idiot. Um, this not being one of the times where it's an idiot thing, but like
Nah, this is one of those. This is like NFC or NFT.
Yeah.
Sorry. Where oh, by the way, I've got 6 sales on not my last piece, the one before, and I burned the rest. So there are 6 out there in the world to be traded further or done with, whatever anybody thinks. And I've got another piece that I put out near the end of last month that I'm gonna keep up for this month.
My COVID tweets sparked some curiosity. Are you 5G COVID again?
Uh-oh.
Nope.
5G COVID positive?
Well, I said the chicken in China is a Chinese chicken. Apparently, that is a question.
Is it?
Ages. Are
Well.
you 5G COVID again? You know what? Yes, I am. I am 5G positive.
R.I.P., sir. R.I.P. and
Actually, so I have
pepperonis.
to say this. I do have my current phone does have 5G, and it is interesting. Okay, sweet. Indiegogo email. So 5G itself is fantastic technology when you have enough towers in the area. It is lightning fast, but your phone has to actually switch to it for it to be useful because otherwise it's not using it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the highway's great and all if you're driving on it, but, if you're on back roads...
If you're driving next to it and looking directly at it and going, well, we could get on it up at the next turn, but we fucking missed it again.
That said, I am curious to see some studies come out with that.
$5-10 a month.
Well, so here's the thing: it's not enough power to do anything to anything. It's like complaining about microwaves being inside a microwave while you're standing outside of it and looking at it. If your shielding is shit for that case, then yeah, that'd be a problem. But in the case of, say, a handheld handset in your home, those communicate with microwaves too. The reason why they're not microwaving your brain like they are, say, microwaving the stuff inside the microwave oven is because it's not enough power. It's just not going to affect anything. And all it does, by the way, is make things vibrate. Makes the water vibrate.
At the end of the day, microwaves are not ionizing any radiation.
Exactly.
Like they just don't physically. And it's not a power thing, right? Like power and energy are two very different things when we start talking about radio waves.
So enough heat could denature proteins in your body, cause inflammation, and all kinds of problems. Fine.
I suppose, but I could sit there and take a magnet out of my microwave, aim it directly at you, and your skin will feel really, really shitty, and you'll run away. But I'll do no permanent damage.
Well, yeah. Cutting a leg off is not permanent in terms of like your ability to heal and live. But if you fired a magnetron at someone's brain and you cooked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I fired a magnetron at somebody's brain, right?
Notice that thing too. Yes.
The reality is your skin would have to be removed, your bone would have to be removed, because any hydrogen-oxygen bond between it and your brain would absorb the entirety of the energy.
But again, point here being that 5G
that's one of the reasons why.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can volunteer for the trials on that. I'll pass.
I'm just pointing out here that 5G is nowhere near the energy intensity that's required to do anything to anybody. And you're not going to have resonant hotspots. I mean, that's crazy shit like that building in Sydney frying the cars across the street. Like it's not going to be that. Like the precautions are being taken, and the regulatory oversight that does its job. The job it says on the tin, not the other kind. The oversight has been done from the scientific community. And I know that unfortunately is losing value as a pedigree here, but
the scientific community, honk honk.
But in this case, good minds have looked at it. You can read the studies on this, and studies look fine. 5G is fine. I'm willing to throw my reputation out there. And stare directly up at the guillotine blade that's probably going to come down on my ass, but whatever.
I mean, at the end of the day, anything in that band range is not going to cause any significant damage.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. It doesn't have the radio waves, the photons, wavelengths, whatever the hell you want to call them.
Fucking tower. Like it's like saying that cell signals are going to give you problems.
I don't even think that would do it. Like at the end of the day, you're really like the problem is ionizing radiation, and you're not at the energy wavelength to do that yet.
Well, again, like I said,
right?
like even if you're talking about just the heat up issue, and again, fine, skin notwithstanding, like skin is an issue. If you lose your skin, you're fucked. So, say that skin heating is the issue. You're not gonna feel 5G. It's not something you're gonna be able to perceive, let alone actually do anything to you.
Yep.
Well, it'll be interesting to see some studies come out.
Sure.
On 5G, you're
like
concerned?
actual studies. I kind of don't care.
You're talking about retrospective in the field studies, and I get that. Sure. Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
Because, I mean, we've seen there is a little bit of weirdness with 4G. Not a lot, but a little.
I mean, so like, you know, when it comes to things like the vaccines, right? You guys are both vaccinated. And I'm sitting here saying, hey, I think that this is an untold risk.
I will neither confirm nor deny that.
You already said you were.
I will neither confirm nor deny that.
Okay, whatever.
Episodes.
You are actually very proud of your Johnson & Johnson shot.
I never said that.
He's always said he's proud of his Johnson, sir. You have to be clear about those.
Definitely.
Okay. Maybe it was the 5G Corona.
He is not, however, proud about crossing swords with someone else. His Johnson & Johnson experience is not a proud moment for him.
Oh man. Yeah. No. But at the end of the day, when it comes to like, there's different things when we talk about risks and like what's an actual risk versus what's not a real risk. So when Craig and I are able to sit down and actually like chit chat and talk about the vaccines, you know, Craig's like, well, what's your legitimate risk? And my concern is cancer, and that's because of the mechanism of action, right? Like if you inject nucleotides into your cells, if you have not done longitudinal studies, you're not going to convince me that there's not some interplay in your genetics. Yeah. And it's not that, you know,
being involved, so that the fact is that a live vaccine, if it does replicate in cells, the vast majority of those cells die. And that this is something that is
in theory
true.
In theory. Right? In theory.
It's true. Just generally speaking, we know it's true.
In theory, right? So the question is the issue with cancer, right, is cancer is not a most of the cells died problem. Cancer is a one of the cells didn't problem.
Well, so that's the thing is oftentimes you do produce cancerous cells in your body and they get eliminated by your body. The times that cancer doesn't happen very often, but when it does, most of the time your body catches it. This is a generally true statement. We're not going to talk about specific cancers or specific things that are going on, but just generally speaking, your body has mechanisms to kill off cancerous cells, and it's when it doesn't catch that later on, when more of them are being produced by the numbers game, that your body, you know, gets overwhelmed or it just fails to catch things by certain mechanisms that we have. That's what you get cancer.
There's a bunch of different ways that it doesn't catch them. Sometimes it's overwhelmed. Sometimes it's right.
And there's a bunch of different ways.
It can also just be cells that don't register to your immune system as cancerous.
Well, remember, we're talking about cancer. We're talking about cancer, and there's over 200 different kinds of cancer, 200 different diseases that we recognize as quote cancer. So, in the frame of very general statements here, you know, cancer becomes a numbers game problem later down the road.
It does. It's not a today thing.
Right. But
when we start talking about, like, the point that I'm trying to get to before we get sidetracked into stupid shit, is it's all about the mechanism of action, what can potentially arise from something. And when we start talking about photon or radio wave interactions and like what it actually does on an atomic level, the physics involved, it physically doesn't have the energy to cause an impact. You just physically can't get there. And when we do start talking about things like ionizing radiation, where we do have radiation that is capable of doing ionizing wavelengths, right? The wavelengths are energy levels, right? It takes a metric fuck ton of that level of energy to induce cancer rates at a detectable level.
Metric fuck ton on a
With
cellular level here, just to be clear.
What's that?
It's a metric fuck ton on like the cellular level.
No, I mean like
On the
your
body
actual
level, sure,
dosage.
but like also on the cellular level, it has to actually has to do enough damage to cancerize the cell, if you will, but also not enough that it kills the cell outright.
Right, exactly. So you have a very, very narrow window of death ray
Yeah.
can absorb, right? And yes, it's happening across millions and millions of cells, but if you get too much energy, like it says, it dies off. If you get too little energy, it typically sits there. Actually, a lot of the weaker cells die off, so you get hormesis, some other effects in that.
Also get
but when it comes
cells
to
that are bad, like a lot of them will just kill themselves. They'll commit Sudoku on your behalf.
well, it's not that, right? Like the cells that aren't replicating particularly well, if you damage their DNA, the cells that aren't replicating particularly well would be the ones that would become cancer cells. So if they get damaged, then they die, right? Like they can only take so much.
Yeah, it's never one gene that gives you a cancer cell. These oncogenes have to be activated. Multiple oncogenes have to be activated.
I mean, sometimes.
Well, it's
right?
never. It is never one. I don't think there's ever been a cancer that was discovered based on one oncogene. But it's usually like 4 or 5, but it can be as low as like 3, I think.
I would hesitate the argument that one of the problems that you have with cancers is we will get diagnoses of cancers in broad spectrum based on the cells that they infect. And we typically, while there are studies that will go into this, there's nowhere near as many studies as there are cases of cancer, and it's very likely that there are methods of cancerization, we'll call it, that are not covered by our known stuff just because of how often it happens, how scant the research is into those specific mechanisms of cancer, right? When you start talking about, classic "this causes cancer in rats" joke for the scientists, so many things seem to have some effect, and we don't know how that happened. And we'll start talking about rat
You're dropping out.
Yeah, we're getting you some bad drops here.
We're getting most of what you're saying, but it's coming through like staticky shit right now.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like absolute risk, when it comes to real relative risk, right? There's 2 concerns that I have with the vaccines. Well, actually, there are 3 things associated with the vaccines. One is we don't know the long-term effects, and specifically cancer. And every single time I see one of these stupid things that tries to debunk the cancer, they go off on this really weird and specific aspect about cancer and the generation of cancer. I saw one that's like, no, this does not inactivate genes that sit there and kill cancer. I'm like, that's not like, does cancer occur from this? It's answered by whether or not it toggles the genes off for killing cancer. Like nobody was asking that question.
We did. You know what? Let me wait to butt in here. Please keep going. You had your 3 things that you're worried about.
So cancer is one risk. I see the actual spike protein seems to have some serious negative effects in this. And I think that is, when we take a look at the virus does not seem to be particularly dangerous. So the risk reward, because I can quantify my risk associated with the virus, because it is within the standard relative acceptable life risks, I see absolutely zero reason to take an unnecessary risk with a vaccine that has none of these things. And then on top of that, you have some of the shorter term consequences from this, which aren't particularly. So it's a mixture of those 3 things: relative risk, the actual potential long term side effects, which are not, going to grow a 3rd arm, which is too bad because then I could stroke it while typing a paper. And then the 3rd one is the actual vaccines do appear to have negative side effects, and we don't exactly know why they happen.
Your third arm might come out of like your ankle and just be too far away. It could be like one of those quado arms, where it's just like a little T-Rex arm.
If there was an opportunity, I would find a way.
Yeah, as they say, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yoga is something that I have no interest in. I mean, that's
you could finger your prostate, but you'd never be able to reach all the way out.
Right. That's exactly right. But like that's mechanism of action when it comes to these things. This is unlike a standard like a live attenuated vaccine or one. When it physically enters your cells, and we don't have a safety profile, there is a chance that bad things can happen.
Oh, actually, on that note, let me pause you for a quick half second for an update on the Valneva. I've been looking into this one, the actual attenuated coronavirus vaccine, and it is...
Which one is this?
Valneva, out of France. It's in phase 3, and they're expecting results, from what I understand, fourth quarter.
How many of them have been terminally addicted to cheese after they got the vaccine and felt the need to surrender?
It's a good question.
I
haven't seen the numbers.
The one that I would want to take is Codagenics. That just completed its phase 1 and it's into phase 2.
Okay.
If it was a vaccine that I would take, that would be the one that I would prefer to take. Although the problem that I've seen is there are actually several other live attenuated virus vaccines that have been produced around the world, and for whatever fucked up reason, our FDA and CDC have chosen not to make available traditional vaccines, despite the fact that we have subunit protein, we have live attenuated, we have inactivated. There's all of the standard vaccines that you have been produced. They are functional, at least as good as Pfizer is.
I mean, they certainly can't be fucking worse.
They can't be fucking worse, right? And our FDA and CDC have not approved them, which is super fucked up. Right? If you turn around and you want to start talking vaccine hesitancy, at least turn around and provide the option to go for something like traditional that people aren't particularly concerned about. And then after anybody has, and stuff that, for those who are concerned about it, there's also, don't use dead babies, all that
stuff.
Yeah,
that's the other one, too. That's actually a legitimate thing.
You gotta remember, though, that when it comes to fetal cell lines,
Yeah. It's actually a cloned line from babies from the 70s.
Beyond all that stuff, you also get fetal cells in terms of the research aspect of things, from things like the cord, which is not a part of the baby. You get the residual blood placenta, etc.
As somebody who has counseled women to have abortions and have sat there, happily displaying competitor males' offspring, I am perfectly comfortable with abortion as an issue. I am simply referencing that other people draw different moral and ethical lines associated with it. Mine is a safety and ethics. Other people do have
a fucking competitive issue, which is stupid because you have found the female in your life.
Doesn't mean I don't like sitting there and watching other men fail.
That's just your inner eugenicist speaking, so it's fine.
You could get along really well with a buddy of mine.
This isn't like when people go, "Oh my God!"
He's happy with abortion for a very different reason. The same reason Sanger was happy about it. But that's his problem, not yours.
Some people say Margaret Sanger was a visionary. What can we say?
Yeah,
but I don't have a personal, but I know other people do, and I respect their decisions. You would think that the FDA and the CDC would actually spend just a small amount of time attempting to...
That would actually lead to the goal of compliance and getting rid of the pandemic, which as we know now, is not within the Democrats' fucking purview.
Oh, but wait, guys, I've got some good news. Pfizer's got a new pill coming out that's totally not an ivermectin analog.
No, you see, you're correct when you say that, and I have to point this out because the chemist in me is screaming right now.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: the guy you were talking to wasn't a cunt. But
he was being an asshole, and I wasn't exactly right, but I wasn't really wrong either.
The layperson's idea of an analog in terms of like drugs and stuff is that it does the same thing. You know, it does what it says on the tin, etc. They're both protease inhibitors, fine. Proteases, by the way, are a wide class of enzymes.
Hi, Lucky.
And
He's up here.
They basically are the ones that go along and cut things. That's what they do.
I don't know where he came
go along.
from, but he's hiding again, trying to.
So
Hey, buddy.
when he was sitting there talking about the IC50s, etc., that's like an LD50 is the stuff that is required
You're
to
okay.
have a population. IC50 is how much is required to cause 50% inhibition in activity, which is irrelevant if it's completely inhibitory in the first place, but whatever. So the 3CL Pro is also called the M-Pro. It's the main protease for the virus. So if you see someone talking about M-Pro, they're talking about main protease, and it's the 3-trypto, whatever the fuck it is. 3-chlorotrypto, whatever, like, in quotes there. Protease. So that's the 3CL protease, 3CL Pro. That's the main protease for SARS and SARS-2. The SARS M-Pro is very similar to the SARS-2 M-Pro. So when he's talking about analogs, he's talking about chemical analog or chemical structural analog.
Yeah, he's saying something that, like, you look at it under a microscope, and it's going to look very similar, and that's really not what I meant.
The chemical structure is very similar. So a way that this impacts people in the layperson sense is the Drugs Analogs Act, which is where the DEA is allowed to arrest you for having anything that looks like a currently classified drug or currently scheduled drug, to use their parlance. So if you have something,
I think he was in our room.
So you have something that looks
Under
like
the bed.
amphetamine, which is a Schedule II drug, then if it looks similar enough, which is a court's decision, then the DEA can just arrest your ass and then say, yeah, they were producing amphetamine, as far as the law is concerned.
Well, they did a lot of this with actually the synthetic pot.
Exactly.
A lot of this, that's actually where a lot of this comes from, even specifically.
So anyway, when they say analog,
some
they mean chemical
funky stuff
structural analog.
Oh.
And another way that this is another analogous way that this is used in terms of the language, in terms of, like, you know, things that are more specific to a field that are used in general to do confusing stupid shit. Structural racism is the power plus prejudice idea. But when people talk about racism and they say, "Oh, I can't be racist," they're confusing racism and structural racism. So a chemical structural analog is what chemists usually mean when they talk about analogs for drugs and chemicals. They're talking about something that has the same kind of physical geometry of the atoms, physical topology of the atoms, and the structure of the compound. So yes, he was correct in that they are not analogs. They, however, do perform analogous activities within a cell. So the thing that's advantageous about the Pfizer protease inhibitor is that it might prevent endocytosis, the ability of the virus to get into the cell in the first place. Whereas the ivermectin protease inhibition activity is partially conflated with the fact that it will bind up other non-structural proteins in the viral replication cycle. So combined, you might have to use even less of either one of them. When he's talking about IC50, the lower number is better, and it's on the micromolar level, so micromoles per liter, and nanomolar level, nanomoles per liter. The ivermectin is in the order of 2 to 5, depending on which you're looking at, but as far as the safety is concerned, 2 micromolar is roughly the concentration that people look at. And it's very active at 2 micromolar. In fact, it can have an IC50 that's less than that if you include the non-structural protein binding. The Pfizer drug is on the nanomolar level, which is 3 orders of magnitude less. So it's very, very, very active. And the reason it's partly, in part, why it's that active is that it prevents endocytosis in the first place. So once the virus gets into the cell, it prevents viral replication by inhibiting M-Pro, the same way that ivermectin inhibits M-Pro. They actually have fairly similar M-Pro inhibition activity. But the fact that it can prevent endocytosis in the first place means that it prevents the viral replication full stop right there and then. It's like an antibody binding up on S1. It prevents endocytosis.
Well, I mean, if you consider it, it stands to reason that if you've got an actual problem and you know how to attack it, you can make a tool better suited to it than something that has admittedly been around for like 60 fucking years.
Again,
I mean,
they both give it M Pro at similar levels, and they both do the job, which is preventing the infection from propagating. They both do it at what appears to be safe levels for Pfizer, as well as definitely known safe levels for ivermectin.
So this is one of the big problems that I have when we do talk about this, whether we want to split hairs on whether it's an analog or not. That's a separate discussion. One of the things that really pisses me off, especially with the modern left, is we have a lot of medicines that are fairly old and fairly effective.
And
some of the stuff that we have, and we just don't we don't use them. We don't. This is the stuff that the third world uses to combat their diseases. And sometimes you have these really targeted cures that do phenomenal magical things, and that's why the U.S. is better and healthier. But a lot of times, whether you believe in ivermectin or not, and I am not convinced. My wife has sent me stuff because she's concerned because I don't want to take the vaccine. Right? I am not convinced that ivermectin is the panacea that people want to sell it out to be. Now, if I did get sick, I would probably want hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin and all this other stuff, not because I'm,
the Joe Rogan cocktail, as it were.
Right. Not because I'm hanging my hat on it, but because it seems to work, right? There is a lot of anecdotal evidence. There are some studies indicating that it works. From what I've seen, the effect ranges from small to absolutely impressive. I haven't seen anything that says negative.
Here's an example of a drug that is a classic example of a drug that has no funding potential, but is distinctly useful as a cancer treatment. Although nobody wants to do studies on it anymore because there's no money in it. And by no money, I mean not just no pharmaceutical money. I mean there's no research money anymore because it has been studied, and because it's too generic at this point. There's not going to be any way to further the research, let alone come up with a business model.
There's ways to further the research. There's no ways to profitably further the research.
There's literally not going to be any money here. So, and chloroacetates are the example as a cancer drug. Dichloroacetate's a common one. Trichloroacetate is kind of the classic on that one. And keep in mind, these drugs are used, and there's concerns about hepatic toxicity. So you might get cancer from the cancer treatment, which would be bad. So trichloroacetate is a carcinogen, but it's also not a very bad carcinogen. So these used to be used as like a knockout drop. One of the downstream products of chloral hydrate, by the way, which is what's in knockout drops.
Chloroform.
Trichloroacetic acid. And that is a carcinogen, even though it might fight cancer. So
and this is the thing though, right? Like, if we have a drug that costs 10 cents a pill, and we have a drug that costs $100 a pill, well, I, as a nuclear engineer pulling in nearly $100,000 a year, would say, hey, off the shelf, give me the $100 a pill drug because it's better than this 10 cents a pill drug. If it's got a 25-30% chance, but we don't do these things.
Well, hey, it comes with free graphene.
So I have somebody who's absolutely telling me that was what was going on. I'm like, all right, just show me the laboratory report, and she has yet to pull that up.
Never gonna happen either.
No.
The graphene thing. So I even showed. I believe I did show Evan this video. There was a fantastic fucking video. This person is so off the fucking wall nuts. Where there's this woman who purports to be like some ex-worker, I think at Pfizer or whatever, is just going through and looking, and like she pulls up CEN articles, chemical engineering news articles. Nothing to do with anything she's talking about. It was beautiful.
That's what I've seen.
She skips from one thing to the next in a blink of an eye, and you're just looking at it like, how the fuck did you do that?
Yep. Well, I've got somebody at work. I've got somebody at work, and I'm not going to name who they are. But they are. So I told this story a little bit. We had a general meeting with the site about those of us. Well, it was a general open forum. 250 people attended for my site specifically to talk about the vaccine mandate, right? And I had 3 questions. One person asked one of my questions, which was, is the lab planning on assuming legal liability
You're breaking up again.
associated?
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit again.
Sorry. I keep leaning, so I have to go walk out to my station. It's at the end of the road. So, but yeah, so my questions were, one of them was, is the lab planning on assuming legal liability for any adverse events? You know, I think that's a relevant thing.
Yeah, no, kind of an important question.
Kind of an important question, right? Like, who do I get to sue because you forced me to take something I didn't want to take? Right? I can't sue anybody because I took a virus without taking a vaccine. That's not something I can sue anybody for because that was my choice.
Yeah, but there's
right?
also
But if
the
this
FDA provides a means for restitution that you can.
Except they haven't, right? Like they shielded Pfizer. They have a plan. They have a program. They have not allowed any claims to go through it yet.
Yeah, they have.
No, they haven't. At least the last I saw was that they have not approved any of the claims that went through, or they've approved almost none of the claims that they've approved a small fraction of the claims or something like that. Like they aren't paying out what they should be paying out.
That's something we should look into a little further too, because that's kind of important. That was
what I saw. Now I could be wrong. Get biased.
National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program.
Oh, yeah, no, that. Except I think that got shielded from COVID.
The health resources.
I thought that got shielded from COVID. They created a special.
COVID-19 claims. For claims associated with COVID-19 or other COVID-19 related countermeasures, please file your request for benefits with the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program. But
yeah.
There it is, HRSA program right there.
Right, but they haven't approved any of the claims.
They have.
So you can't sue Pfizer, and the claims that have been submitted have been rejected.
Show me those claims that have been rejected.
I understood. The anecdotal.
I know,
right?
and this is completely without prejudice that I asked that.
And actually, I think this is kind of a big topic worthy of a little bit of time on its own. So we might want to put a bow on this for the moment and actually look up some more on it because it's worth actually delving into.
I think it'd be interesting to see what kind of claims were rejected in the first place.
Not to mention with kind of the weirdness that we heard out of Veritas over the last week with some of the fuckery on VAERS numbers.
I also think it'd be interesting to see what kind of claims were approved. You know, I think that the spread of data on that would be interesting.
Okay, so here's an open call to anyone who catches this. If you've got any data on that, anecdotal or otherwise, try and get it to me, Craig, Steve, any one of us.
I'm the ICP claims filed in fiscal years 2010 to 2021 as of September 1st, 2,883.
The COVID vaccine claims are covered under a separate provision.
Claims denied 362, pending or in review 2,389. Eligible for compensation 39. Claims eligible for medical review 2,790. Okay, claims ineligible for medical review 93. Missed filing deadline 38. Not a covered product or not specified 55. So I would say that of the claims made, 93 of them seem to be through sheer incompetence, not eligible for medical review. But I also think it's weird that 2,389 of 2,883 total are still pending review or in review.
It does add a little bit of veracity to the statement.
Over an 11-year period. It's crazy. I don't care like if they all happen in the last 6 months. You know,
no, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that there is a specific carve out as part of the COVID relief plan.
No, I believe you're right on that.
For the COVID-19 vaccine.
Well, they say to file the measure. They say to file your claim with CICP, and it looks like claims have been, regardless whether it's COVID-19 or not, claims have been made. They say the claims should go through CICP for COVID-19.
And they might. That might be who handles the claims. That might be who covers claims. Oh, speaking of government programs, something advertised to me on YouTube today about how I could claim my $3,700 check. I went and looked it up. It's a real program. I could go and file for money as a homeowner. And I could qualify for that money if I wasn't married to somebody else who was gainfully employed. And I'm thinking, I was kind of
Why
pissed,
quit?
right? Like we're only over the combined household income by like $20K, and with me buying my new house where it'll be my primary residence, I kind of think maybe by the end of the year, it might be a financial divorce in our future, so I can claim $3,700.
Oh man, condolences. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Like, what the fuck?
God, that's fucking dumb.
Yeah, it is
Here's the
literally.
thing.
It's
You
like
also got to make sure that you're not paying more fees for the procedures you might be going through than you might be getting out of it.
Oh yeah, it's always a cost-benefit analysis at the end of the day.
that's true. That's true. But I'm sure that this would be something where, we could work on it afterwards or during that period of time, so the entire cost would be like $150 for the form. And all of a sudden, once I got my check, then I'm sure things would get better. Or once both of us got a check, I'm sure things would get better.
Well, I mean, you'll have the money to get your couples counseling then. So, I mean, it only stands to reason, You can't expect an impoverished man to go and work on these things.
You got separate properties. You can live in separate residences.
Yeah,
Exactly
see,
right.
yeah, you'll be, well, separation makes the heart fonder, right? So there you go.
Exactly right.
So yeah, that'll probably be your solution right there.
Yep.
Separation made them only go Jane.
But it's just the income limit shit always pisses me off, because every single time the government has put out a program to help people, I'm either too poor to be a part of it, as everything that was done under the Obama administration, right? Like, you had to actually have like an SUV that you had to cash in to get a new car, and you had to have a house, or you had to be in the down market to get the first time home buyer credit. So I couldn't get any of those. That's $10,000 that I would have really liked to have.
Yeah, let me pause you for just a quick half second on that cash for clunkers bullshit. There's a lot of people with a lot of fucking money that traded in some very okay, totally decent cars just to get some new shit and completely fucked up the whole used car economy and car culture of America.
Well,
fuck you, Barry.
My favorite part of that was that it completely did the opposite of what it intended to do.
Oh yeah, fucked everything. Fuck you, Barry. You're an asshole. You and Big Mike. Although I'm gonna say Barry's probably more of the asshole in the relationship. Anyway, you were saying?
Well, I'm either like too poor at a point where I can't really take advantage of it, right? Because man, I would have gone out and bought like the shittiest, not really workingest truck, and cashed that in.
Well, the thing that peeved me about it was that every vehicle they brought in by the program, and the people running the program didn't have to give a shit about this, but the compliance side of it was they had to sodium silicate the engines and totally fuck them.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, you can't just pull the engine out and use it for salvage or whatever. Like, no, you've got to fuck it.
They had to put sodium silicate in the oil well and then run the engine until it failed, which was not very long with sodium silicate. And basically, it turns into glass in the engine, by the way. For people who aren't figuring that out, it's water glass. I mean, so sodium silicate dissolved in water, and then they run the engine, and it precipitates out of solution and binds up the whole engine. So everywhere the oil goes, there's now glass there, like foamed up glass.
All for the purpose of what again? Getting old cars off the road?
Junk.
Wait.
Which means it's now all junk, which means it's now no longer going to be serviceable.
It was a bailout for the auto industry.
Right? Yep.
So this was right after the Barry bought GM, and he had instructed GM to make a specific set of cars. Those cars didn't sell all that well, so they put in cash for clunkers, and so that they could sell GM and help
and the cars that did sell well, the Pontiacs, the cool cars. Oh no more of that. That has to go. No fast cars. Sorry. Yeah, fuck that.
I was super pissed that like my Toyota Corolla, which was falling apart, right? You're supposed to be helping out the poor and the middle class. My Toyota Corolla, which was falling apart constantly, and I didn't have the mechanic skills I do now, so I couldn't fix it. Right.
Yeah.
If they had given me $6,000, right, I would have found a way. There was a Suzuki, right? Now I'm not a big fan of it, but I would have bought a brand new Suzuki, They were for like, I think it was like $8,000 or $10,000 or something like that. I'm sure it was a midget of a car, but that would have been just perfectly okay with me. Like,
Oh, you mean you'd have actually
that
done
would've been-
basically what was entirely in the spirit of the program? God for fucking
right,
bid.
exactly. Like, yeah, that would have been the goal. But because I didn't happen to have a friggin', Cadillac Escalade to trade in, or some shitty version of that, it doesn't count. So you couldn't do that. And then we were like, we were not in a position to buy a house at the time because we're too young for that. We were in school. And so we lost out on $6,000 there. And, when you start talking about government programs, there's certain things that I actually do like. Like, I really like the FHA program. As a libertarian, I know that's terrible to say the government actually does something right. I support the FHA. I think it's a great idea to offer low down payment loans with a whole shitload of screening to first-time home buyers, and it's not just first time. You can get FHA loans all the time. But 3.5%, it's the best investment that you can make in yourself and best investment you can make in the future, right?
Well,
And
if you've got a bunch of
works out.
property owners, you've got people that are, for one, interested in maintaining a place. And for two,
Right.
you've got people owning an actual piece of where they are, as opposed to
Yep.
just being some sort of
Yep.
transient.
And like I think it's a great program. I looked into it for buying my house. It's one of the few that I would actually support expanding it. The cost of the loan is higher than a conventional loan, but you don't put anywhere near as much down on it. And it's a really great opportunity. It would be like a really great opportunity to expand that into an investment, something so you can do rentals and stuff like that. But it seems that there's no government programs where they really turn around and actually try to benefit the middle class. They always sit there and throw free money at people that the poor people can't actually get because they're poor and they can't afford whatever they're supposed to be buying with the money they're throwing at them. So it's this ridiculous, circuitous thing. Or you have to be like super well connected and pull off the scam that is Tesla, wherein you basically just take the checks from the government to cover your profit margin.
Yeah.
Like, I just always pisses me off. But it pissed me off to find out that, because I'm married, right? If both my wife and I were single, we would meet the income requirements. But because we're married, our household income exceeds them, and so now we can't get our check.
So what you're saying is that the government is putting undue duress on your marriage and might lead to a breakup.
That's exactly right.
That's terrible to hear, man. I'm so sad to hear that.
I'm not a fan of most funding programs or social programs or all the other stuff. But like, if they spend a little bit more effort trying to build the middle class, like, you could put money towards people who can use it, who don't start off with all of the money in the fucking world.
Well, actually, I think like what they could do even would be, instead of not even necessarily aiding the middle class, just not actively try and destroy it at every single fucking angle.
Yeah, that would help too.
Would
help too. I mean, like, okay, so maybe aiding is asking for too much, but
yeah,
whole, like, what is it? you turn around when you file taxes and you're poor, and you get all this fucking money back, and then you find out that you make a little bit. You make a little bit of money, and then all of a sudden you're not like.
You're talking
What's
about,
that?
like, I said, speaking as the poor person in the room, you're talking about half a month of rent. That's the money you won't get back.
You kept cutting out there. I couldn't.
Oh,
Right, so speaking as the poor person in the room, the money you quote get back is $600 or so. It's like half a month of rent.
No, I used to get multi-$1,000 checks back.
Wow, that sounds nice.
Because you're poor in the right way.
Yeah. I'm broke.
Again, the
Perennially.
is bullshit.
I used to get large the money back, and then all of a sudden I started making money, like actual money.
Well, then they
And
turn
it
around
went
and
from
do-
yeah, and then all of a sudden you're no longer eligible for half the tax write-offs that you were before, and you're like, what the fuck? So now you have to do creative things like start businesses and run things so that you can actually deduct your normal expenses like everybody else does. It's really annoying.
Yeah, not to start a business for too soon.
That's side is that's part, once the rental gets up and running, right? Even though that'll be my primary residence, because I have a rental, I can write off everything I put into that house.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
And I'm getting it for like 110. It's like a 2-family, 2,600 square feet. It rents out, the top one we're expecting 1,200 from, or 1,100, well, 1,000 to 1,200 depending on.
Yeah.
And the bottom one is right now 875. It needs updates. We'll probably get the same amount. So we're talking about nearly a 25% rate of return every single year if
That's
I rent
strong.
out both units.
Very strong.
Right? Like, I know I'm living in the top unit, right? And that's the plan.
Right.
But at the same time, like, it's a pretty good property for 110. It's a turd. Like, it's a fucking turd, dude. There's asbestos, there's mold, there's lead.
Oh my God.
As somebody who does environmental remediation, like, I'm like, yes, that's $50,000 that I can make in, a day or two. I just have to buy a legit, remediation vacuum. That's on the to-do.
Right. Well, those are basically
So
just headphones with a sticker on them, so that's not bad.
Yes and no. So there's a lot of stuff that labeled a HEPA. And actually, this is probably interesting for our listeners.
Like the
who
nano
aren't
HEPA we used in our lab for tubes,
Yeah. A lot. So HEPA stands. So there's ULPAs, there's HEPAs, there's HEPA types, right?
Right.
ULPAs are ultra low particulate, something like that. Ultra low
high efficiency, and then there's the light ones, which are bullshit.
High efficiency, and then there's the HEPA light. So the ULPAs are like, first off, I do not support allergen reduction programs, so please do not use these in your house. You should be exposed to your environment. It helps you build your immune system.
Unless you have very specific issues, you should not be using a HEPA.
Yes.
Yeah, don't.
Yes. And those.
Yeah. You should talk to your doctor about those very specific issues, and the doctor should be telling you use a HEPA or an ULPA.
Right. At the end of the day, you should be exposed to dander, allergen, dirt, mites, dust, fleas, bugs, all the other stuff. And the fact that we basically sterilize.
And be in hell.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the
So we
fleas.
have one flea every once in a while is not so bad.
Fleas are
But
not
like if people
flea bits and parts. Fine, not the fleas themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
kind of a
if
disease
people
vector.
actually-
Anyway.
there is some research that shows that people not being exposed to stuff is part of the reason why we have as many autoimmune issues as we do in our society.
Oh yeah, no, that is valid. Yeah, let your kids play in dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
So do not and eat peanuts while you're pregnant, because that also will avoid peanut allergies in your children.
Well,
Oh, quick by the by on the peanut allergy thing, actually, there's been a lot of really, really good study in that, and microdosing, you can pretty well acclimatize about anybody to peanuts, given time.
So for that kind of stuff, you can talk to...
But talk to your doctor, of course.
Yeah, talk to your doctor, talk to an immune specialist, then you go and talk to an allergy specialist, and then they basically microdose you over a period of a few months and for years, and then you get to the point where you don't have to worry about it anymore. But you should have yourself like a peanut butter sandwich at that point, at least every year, to make sure you don't revert back.
Yeah, and peanut butter sandwiches
But
are
in any
good.
case,
Yeah. Sorry, please continue.
You should be exposed to things. That being said, HEPAs, ULPAs, all that stuff that has very, very good usage. You use an ULPA for stuff like circuitry, right? If I was to build some sort of fab work would be. You know, I'd actually probably use one if I wanted to get some specific strains of mushrooms growing, and not like magic mushrooms, but like if I wanted specific colonies of them to grow.
Yeah, if you don't want any cross contamination between your mushroom colonies.
Right.
Well, this would be the kind of thing
and
that I would
some
want to
stuff-
put on like a paint box if I'm going to be doing any airbrushing in my house.
Yeah, so ULPA.
No, you can actually.
HEPA.
You could use a HEPA.
Well, I didn't specify for that reason, but yeah.
So HEPAs are what we typically use for abatement. That's 99.97% at 0.3 microns. A true HEPA should be DOP tested once a year.
Yeah.
DOP testing is dioxyl phthalate testing, and it's basically they burn little tiny particles, and then they have a photosensor that takes reading before and after and compares the two readings and says, does this actually eliminate 99.97% of particulates? If you're looking for a true HEPA vacuum for something like, say, abatement, and I'm not saying that you should abate, you should always check with your local and state laws as to what you do or don't do in your specific state. But there are, one of the problems that you see is even if you get, so what you'll see is you'll see these HEPA likes. Those aren't HEPAs. They're not even close. They basically attempt to pretend that they're HEPAs, but they don't actually get that level of filtration. Because if they could get that level of filtration,
if they're lucky,
they might get 99%, maybe. Yeah. But if they could be actual HEPAs, they would go for the HEPA certification because it's worth money.
Yeah,
but they don't,
because they'd be charging a hell of a lot more for it.
They would be, yeah. So your HEPAs are actually fairly expensive vacuums. But even if you want a HEPA, you have to make sure that it's not just the filter, because if you slap an actual filter on a HEPA vacuum, that does not mean that you have a HEPA vacuum. Because if you have leaks in your containment, in your structure, then all of a sudden you no longer have a HEPA.
Yeah, if your vacuum's got holes in it, a lot of good your filtration did.
So all this said, one thing that you can do with the HEPA lights, or the HEPA-like filters, extend your utility of them, because you're not going to get the crazy filtration efficiencies anyway. The structure of it is not going to be quite as critical. You can just put them into a bowl with some soapy water, wait for a while, then agitate on occasion, and let all the grime and shit come out of it, and then rinse it off, let it dry out, and use it again. You don't have to go and buy a new one like every 6 months or whatever. You can buy a new one like every 10 years. I mean, it's
sure.
Just thought I'd throw that little bit of financial sense out there, because I know people have like these HEPA filters in their homes and shit, and they run these things and they go out and they buy these expensive ass cartridges, because even though they're not HEPA certified, they might come out at close to HEPA prices. Which is so stupid. We're
and if
you're
doing like
cartridge, that's pretty bad.
I will be for this house, because it's got asbestos, lead, and all the other stuff, and God knows what's in what, right? I will be. I'm not going to go through all of the samples, because I'm pretty sure I know what is what. I know certain things that I can remove without actually disturbing them. The mold's going to have to be cleaned up, and you just basically need a legit. I'll be getting a nil frisk. It's going to be $1,000 vacuum.
Yeah.
But that thing is going to be a 55-gallon drum attached, and that's how I plan on doing whatever remediation or cleanup I have to do.
Well, that might actually pay dividends down the line, too, as you are wanting to actually get into real estate.
Well, and that's kind of my thoughts, right? Like, as soon as like some of the asbestos stuff that I can see, it's actually newer insulation. It's pretty good condition. Quick life hack. You only actually need asbestos controls if you're going to engage in disturbance activity, which is grinding, cutting, tearing, basically actually damaging the asbestos. However, if it happens to be, like in my case, where they have some of the pipe lagged and it's little bits and pieces of asbestos, you can just take the whole pipe out and not disturb any of the asbestos, wrap the whole thing, and take it away. And that's perfectly legit.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, you just gotta take it
you're
out
not actually disturbing it. Well, you can remediate anything from principal residence that has no other people in it, is generally the rule. You can do whatever the fuck you want at your own house.
What I'm saying is, like, you got to take it out to the. So, for instance, you can't just take it to the regular old dump. But there are like hazardous waste disposal.
No, you actually can. You absolutely can. If it's your own house, you're absolutely allowed to throw asbestos away. So, like when my
check your local regulations. That's going to vary place to place, probably.
Things like mercury, to take it to the hazardous waste disposal. But again, like they have these things outside of most counties. You just you go pay your little fee, you give them the amount, you say here's what's in it, and they go okay, no questions asked, and they put it in the file.
Now what you typically run into as a homeowner is you only have a certain amount that can be picked up, and if you're doing a big remediation project, you're going to have a lot more than that amount. So you're kind of self-limited to like when I go and do the sections that I know that are, it's actually not very much. It's a couple linear feet here, a couple linear feet there, which is well within small project. But at the same time, and again, not a disturbance activity, so doesn't fall into those regs. If you want to dispose of it, you have to, if it's like a place of business or you're working as a contractor or something like that, you do have to go to a hazmat dump. Frankly, most of the hazmat dumps are the same thing as a regular dump. But if you are a homeowner, and this is only advice for homeowners, which I am not a professional, well, I am, but I'm not really a professional for all of your needs, so don't quote me on anything here. Check your local
Well, you're an
regs.
amateur homeowner at this point, not professional yet.
I'm an amateur homeowner. But if you're in your own
hobbyist,
house, the
hobbyist
general
homeowner.
rules for most everything that you do, you can kind of do whatever you want. And that part of that is because you're not going to be generating as much as a contractor or a business, right? So if I had a large facility that I was remediating asbestos from, I might.
Well,
be
also
generating
there's a lot of liability issues that are completely negated when you are the only one liable.
Right, exactly. That's the other component there.
Now that said,
So if you're
don't
gonna go,
do anything stupid.
Oh yeah, don't be an idiot. But yeah.
I have had exposures, not to asbestos to my knowledge. The plaster in my house I was concerned with because I had a huge uptake of that. But the guy next to me, who has a house that looks exactly like mine, it was built right around the same time, said he had everything tested and he found no asbestos, so I'm pretty sure I'm okay. Although I really want to get into chest x-ray at some point in the next couple of years. Really want to know what's coming down. I have a lot of silica exposure. You don't want to get exposure. Exposure is bad. Every single time I turn around, I'm like, you know what? Just grind this little patch here. That's it. Just a little grind, and it all kicks up into the air. And like, use your wet methods.
And you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, "You fucking idiot!" And you turn around and start doing it again.
That was last weekend. Last weekend, I was so I did because I have my house is 120 years old, and the floors are sloping ever so slightly, and because I'm anal retentive and spurging out, while I go redo my home remodel, I feathered out, did it improperly. I got the wrong trowel. The first time I just did like a standard, like for tiling, I was using one of those, and it's just not large enough and wide enough to feather. So I did my initial pours with your self-leveling stuff, and then I did some feathering on top of that, and it wasn't very clean. So last weekend I took a grinder. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to take off some of these chunks. And all of a sudden the entire room's filled with a giant pile of gray dust. I sneeze and there's just snot concrete coming out of my nose. I'm like, fuck. And I've been, you can feel it in your lungs for like a week.
Yeah.
It's really shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
do not give yourself exposures.
Borreliosis, because that's the kind of shit that sticks with you for like years and years.
Which one?
Borreliosis.
Oh, yeah,
They get those little lung nodules and shit. Ugh.
We got, so at the lab we actually have beryllium.
Oh, boy.
Ah, fun.
I knew a guy who actually got beryllium exposure at the lab.
So beryllium, for people who don't know, is used much in the same way a regular window is used for a laser, but for X-rays. So beryllium is very good at being transparent to X-rays for crystallography and for imaging and all kinds of shit.
It's also really, really, really good for neutron absorption.
Yes.
the lower elements. So for those who, if you play pool, right? You're one of the reasons the pool ball is as effective as it is it's slightly higher mass than the other balls. But as you all, those of you who have played pool who have fired one ball into the other ball, the first ball that you fire that hits the second ball almost stops in its entirety. Usually it moves a little bit, but that's because, nothing's perfect.
Yeah, it dumps most of its energy into the next one that it hits, yeah.
If I sit there and I fire a neutron at a thing of steel, just bounces. Just like I would if I threw a tennis ball at a wall. the tennis ball bounces back with pretty much the entire energy that it hit the wall with, right? If you fire a neutron at a low elemental thing, it sits there and basically kills the speed of the neutron. So you use light materials. Hydrogen is the predominant one, but beryllium is pretty low there. So you use that for neutron shielding.
Well, so
You'll
another
knock it
an
right out
example,
of the fast spectrum.
an example of a material that is commonly used for, say, amateur devices is borated soaps or borated waxes. So, boron is another good neutron absorber.
Yes. Boron's a fantastic neutron absorber.
Yeah.
That's
So
basically
borated-
how you kill a reaction.
Borated waxes are typically used for like sealing up the gaps in a lead system, lead shielding.
Yep.
For that specifically.
Well,
For
lead shielding is used for photons. So your
Right.
photons shield with high atomic numbers.
Yeah.
Your neutrons you shield with low atomic numbers.
Yeah.
But
like I said,
So,
for the
yeah.
amateur setup, they will typically. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they'll typically seal up the gaps in their leaded shielding with borated waxes,
interesting.
or they'll just melt the lead. Depends on how they're doing it. But borated wax is easy to crack apart with a knife.
In any case, yeah, we have beryllium, but yeah, you don't ever want to get an exposure. I may have a semi-cavalier attitude towards safety a lot of times, but I always regret it when I get an exposure.
Well, I've
Because-
myself been exposed to iodoacetone and bromine and all kinds of fun shit. I can tell you those are pretty nasty ones. So, fluoroacetone is tear gas. Bromoacetone is bad. Iodoacetone is fucking awful.
Yeah.
Full reaction I was doing, I said, you know what? I'm going to clean up this iodine and crystallize it out. And I said, I don't feel like using hexanes right now. I'm just going to use some acetone. And that's normally fine if you're basic in condition your solution. Unfortunately, it did get slightly basic, and then it produced a whole metric fuck ton of iodoacetone. So I basically tear gassed myself, but way worse than getting the fucking army.
Yep.
No, you got the pure stuff.
I got the pure stuff, man. I got the good shit. And then bromine is fantastic because it's like chlorine, but you can A, see where it is, and B, it sticks around.
Ooh.
It hangs out like an evil brown fog, and it says "fuck you."
I've done.
everything it touches.
I've done so as bad as silica is, and
Yeah.
I don't like I had this huge chunk of concrete that was the only thing I could do in the back room, and I tried like 1,000 different ways to sit there. I killed one vac because I was using that as filtration, where the shop vac would just relocate it outside, and then I killed that shop vac, so I got a rigid shop vac and put a vac bag on it, and did all this other. I built a little like glove sealing thing.
Yeah.
That's why I ended up getting a full-blown respirator, which is, they're like an $800 respirator. That's why I had that. And I still like the amount of concrete that I had
SCBA in
before.
this case, right?
What's that?
You're talking about an SCBA
maybe.
or just filtration? Or just like a
No. I do PAPRs. I mean, the CBA, your CBAs do like a pretty good APF. Like, I mean, it's the best APF you get. It's like what 10,000 or whatever. But a PAPR gets you 1,000.
Yeah.
So the actual cost and the maintenance of a PAPR is like nothing in comparison to an SCBA.
This is
And
true.
and like when I got
For
my
everybody
fit
who's
factor on
listening,
it,
an SCBA is like a scuba diving setup, but for like when you're above ground.
yes, literally
it's like
scuba
what-
is
like what
an
firefighters
SCBA with underwater in it.
Yeah.
But so like I use PAPRs because they're pretty close, and realistically, when I actually like if I'm smooth shaved and I'm properly fit tested with my PAPR, which if you're gonna get an actual respirator, which you should, I think everybody should get a respirator. Go get it fit tested.
Yeah,
You
fit
can
test,
probably go down.
Make sure that like you fit test, and it doesn't matter how smart you are, unless you have a fit testing apparatus to make sure that you're doing it right.
Yep.
You can't guarantee that you've actually fit test yourself properly.
Yep.
Speaking
Get
as one of
somebody
those
else to do it.
assholes who goes, "Oh, I know what I'm doing," No, you don't.
Yep. Yep. I really do recommend getting respirators. They're cheap. They're easy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, $800 bucks isn't cheap, but
So,
if I had actually
for the general population, a half mask respirator is like $30 on Amazon. Just make sure you get yourself fit tested so you know what the fuck you need.
I'd rather
That's
so
good
if
for
you go to
basic
eBay,
garage work. Unless you're doing like stuff, a half mask is all you need for like doing woodwork in the garage. Without any breathing issues whatsoever.
good. A half mask is pretty good. They're only APF rated by OSHA to like 10, which is the same as an N95, and that's insane, right?
Well, so it depends on what you're using, etc. But like, if you want the eye protection and stuff, so you can even get a full face mask, which is basically a half mask with some shielding on the front, and that'll still do.
No, full face gives you a higher APF.
Well, I'm just saying it still does pretty well.
Yeah. No, I mean a half face. So you talk to people who do half faces. Half faces are harder to breathe through than a full face. Well, at least so a PAPR is just fantastic.
We're talking about different things here between a halfer with a full face and a CBA.
The PAPR. Yeah. Well, no, the PAPR it's half full PAPR SCBA.
Right. So a standard full face is basically a half face mask with an additional eye shield covering the front of it, which seals around your entire face.
Yep, and you're only like, if you're in that, as much as it's better than the half face, it's only like an APF of 50 compared to 10.
Right.
You get this huge bump between a full face and a PAPR. Yes. Huge bump. Right, like so you don't like it. They always go for the PAPR. And that's why I have one. But yeah, no, the concrete, I've gotten exposure. I hated it. It took me weeks to recover from that first one. No, it's not. Silica is nasty shit.
Yeah.
And then this one, I think I smoked my
coming out of it. Is what
What's
it's apparently like. So my dad smoked before I was born. He quit between my older brother and I, and he did construction work for years before when he was younger, and he's it's been likened basically cutting concrete is kind of like quitting smoking. He was when he quit smoking, he was coughing up black shit for like 6 months.
Yep, I believe that.
Last that long, but it's nasty shit you're putting up. Same thing with concrete. You get this gray.
I was only doing the concrete for like an hour or 2 hours a day when I was doing it heavily. Yeah. Right? It was just that much concrete, and it took me probably 2 months, 3 months before I felt it was out of my system. Yeah. I'm a week into this silica exposure, and I can still feel it in my lungs. Yeah. And it just sits there.
Yeah, it's kind of like clay inside of your lungs.
You have to cough that shit out.
It really is. Yep. So I need a good I need a round of COVID so I get some good coughing out. Get all that crap cleared out.
You need to go start licking Chinese people randomly.
That's exactly right.
Well, hey, I mean, you could get yourself a nicotine habit, although that tar sticks. Maybe you should smoke something that the tar is easy to cough out. Maybe puff on a couple J's.
Smoke a couple of clove cigarettes, so you really get the extra coughing.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You get the holes in your lungs.
Well, that'll crystallize it too, so it'll be easier to get out. Solidify it.
Yeah. No, what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to increase my exercise so that I push my my respiratory boundary.
Oh,
I've done 2 bike rides this week. One I pushed myself hard on.
Yeah.
Once I thought I'd recovered enough.
So you might also just to help out with things. I mean, just to calm your lungs down for the irritation aspect. You might also try nebulizing a little bit.
I don't know where. Can you just buy those things?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to buy like a nebulizer and some albuterol.
Well, I don't know about the albuterol, but the nebulizer you won't have any trouble getting at all. Like you can get like fully medical grade ones. Just order them online.
But they just won't come with the albuterol packets. You should talk to a doctor if you want to put some of that in there. But like just saying,
this
thing, and here's my exposure because I'm an idiot. And they'll go, yeah, you can take this.
Yeah, that's the. I know, it's one of the environmental exposures are one of those things that you bitch at the Ash people because they're sitting there and stopping you from doing anything functional at all, and then all of a sudden you get exposure because you decided not to fucking listen to the people, and you're like,
He turns around and looks at you and goes, "Guess what? Guess
Told
what,
you so."
fucker?
Yeah.
Told you so."
Yeah, that's exactly how this works. I swear to God, every time. And it pisses me off.
Turns around and fucks up, and you go, "Ah, darn, why didn't I do this?" And the next person next to him goes, "Told you so."
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine they'd live for those moments.
Yeah, the problem is that you don't. Speaking as a person who has been in both situations there.
Fair.
Turn around and go, "Told you so," and you're like, "Oh, I wish I didn't have to tell him so." There it is.
Well,
Pain.
you know what? At the end of the day, I'm happily reminded of why I actually use safe work practices. Although the problem is, I have a second master here. My wife has turned around and said that she doesn't like me when I'm clean shaven because I look like a fucking child, and she doesn't like fucking a child. So I am supposed to wear. I am not really able to wear my respirator. I ended up just to resolve the whole thing. I did a new, fresh, what is it? Feathering.
Ah. So you didn't go for the evil twin? That'll
What's
that'll
the
fit
evil
it.
twin?
Oh, the goatee. You know, just something that'll fit inside of a mask.
The anime goatee.
No, you know what? The if I was really kind of hoping with COVID they were going to put everybody in a respirator and then I'd wear a Hitler.
You could.
And that
You
would have been
could.
the greatest.
That would be
fucking
bold.
time.
You know, the rare occasion that you take it down, people are like, oh my.
All you have to do is start saying nothing. That way, it looks like you're doing the Karl Marx silent stuff.
No.
Not Karl Marx. The Marx Brothers silent stuff.
The Karl Marx silent stuff.
Oh, that's a different kind.
Yeah,
of
that is a completely different silent treatment. Completely different.
Indeed.
Like, you can sit there and pretend you're the great dictator. Do the Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, there you go. Anything to play it off.
Hello, Germans. What the fuck?
All right, boys. It is that time.
Alrighty.
It is well past that time.
It kind of is.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's like, how the fuck did we get here? Time.
Got off onto a science tangent, and then risk.
We did.
And...
We did. I was really happy just a little while ago. There was the whole coding tangent, which I tune out and go clean. But then we came back to real world stuff that actually matters.
Good times. Well, I do, as usual, like to close with some good news. So I'll share something good with the both of you. I've actually got two pieces. The first one...
Are you pregnant? Men can be pregnant.
No, they can't. Also, I am not. Second point, there is a lawsuit that was filed kind of under the board last month against Facebook in Delaware.
Oh, boy.
Against Zuckerberg, Sandberg, CFO, including Peter Thiel and Palantir. So this is gonna get spicy. So we'll kind of be keeping an eye on that. I'll be absolutely dropping a link for everybody to follow up on that thread.
Yes, please.
And here, I'll drop it in the staff chat as well. So you can just immediately access that. And then the other one, let me go back here.
Oh, I should drop actually this one. Just cycle up. For the PGP, I'm going to drop you the link.
Oh,
Any of those
excellent.
two that I'm going to drop, you can communicate with me by, but would probably prefer...
You know what's also really good news?
What's that?
Joe Biden's approval rating has dropped below 50%.
It's been that way for a bit now, but it's great to hear.
It's well below that now. Like, the best part is it's not just via Rasmussen, so they can't go, oh, but there's a bias. It's via everyone.
Yep.
Everyone.
Oh, is it all the articles about why is it that everybody hates Joe Biden? Oh, well, it's got to be because of Trump. And you're like, no. No, they actually don't like Joe Biden.
Isn't that funny?
Joe Biden sucks. Pivot immediately to Trump.
Yep.
The recent one was the slower mail rollout. Quick distract with literally Trumpler. Literally Trumpler. He's slowing the mail down.
I am looking forward to the midterms. They're going to be fun.
They are going to be quite a show. Maybe
I
that
am
same... Oh, there's a quick note on that, actually, that's come out recently. In one of the Zuckerberg drop boxes in the Atlanta area, it was under 24-hour surveillance, obviously. There were 9 individuals that dropped off ballots. Now, it would appear that there are 27,000 ballots that were found from this one drop box, so it'll be interesting to see, to look back over the video and see, how large the crates those 9 individuals were carrying. But I have one other good bit of news to close this out for the day.
The source to that?
I'll do it in the show chat and in the links to the show, but I want to do this other story before we close out. But yeah, I will. Federal judges ruled actually just last week that in Washington, D.C., they will be liable for any damage done to individuals who are disarmed by D.C. law. So if you're not able to protect yourself, D.C. has to pay for it. Which is just c'est magnifique. So, with that, we'll close out, and I will have links to all that, of course, for
And
everybody.
Fauci.
Oh, yeah, and Joe Biden. But yes, both,
And
really.
Fuck both. And that does not mean have sex with them. As
And it-
amazing as that meme is.
Right. And it also doesn't mean let's go Brandon. But anywho, you can look all of us up. I'm Evan, at that fake guy Dan, everywhere except Facebook, because I'm not a big fan of cyborg lizards. You can find Craig at CraigBob99. Maybe are you on Facebook?
I am not going to confirm or deny that.
Okay,
I do keep my privacy there.
that's
generally
fair.
speaking.
That's fair. And of
But
course,
other places you can find me, and I also have a link tree, so you can just CraigBob99 me on the link tree.
oh, there you go. And of course, Craig does not endorse cyborg lizards also. And you can find Steve at Ratman720 in a few places. And I see him occasionally more on Twitter, making the mistake of actually interacting with the awful people there. So,
Hey, listen. Awful people need my love too. My love just happens to come in the form of a fist that I shove firmly and lovingly up their ass.
well, fist of knowledge, of teaching.
Fist of knowledge. Yes.
Yes, you are inserting knowledge into their brain orifice,
Core of their being. Yeah.
forcefully giving them great knowledge deep and hard into the meaty parts of their
That's right.
brain sac.
There's nothing I like better than educating people.
There you go. So with that, look us up. Hit me up for a Discord link if you're a regular listener and you're not on Discord and you'd like to be. Beyond that, we've got a Telegram as well. If you want something anonymous, hit me up. I'll be... actually, a link to the Telegram will be in the thing below. I'm not going to put the Discord because that's just asking for trouble.
Come to the Telegram and then go to the Discord.
Yeah, there you go. We got to vet
You know
people.
what we'll make like a quarantine zone in our Discord at some point, I think, or make it better yet, make a quarantine Discord that you have to go through that airlock before you get in. Maybe that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, well, we'll figure something out. Either way, though, you can just message any of us, and we'll just be able to tell if you're legitimate or genuine. But anyway, been a pleasure. Everybody, be well, be safe, keep your powder dry. It's still time for it to stay dry and not hot, so keep that in mind and just be safe in this crazy goddamn world we live in. It is a cyberpunk dystopia, so live with that as your understanding of things. And we'll all talk to you again soon.